the problem is that when you do a stream, as I say on all of these, if I do them from the mobile, YouTube doesn't let you save a load of preferences. So every time you start one, the settings have to be redone every time, which is really frustrating because if you don't actually have access to a PC and you're just trying to do it on the phone, you can't get all the settings correct. So like I said, I'm going to sort out the settings now. Then I'm going to tell some people I'm on manually. All right, A Shooting UK. Right, if you're on, hopefully the good news is it's sent the notifications out to people that I'm actually on. But I do want to just send... hang on, I've had a message saying... Oh, it's something pointless. Okay, it's like a spam notification. That's all right. But yeah, so doing a stream now. Might do a Kia Starmer one again later, we'll see. But I'm just doing a webcam one for now. So yeah, what was I going to say regarding this? So yeah, what was I going to say? I'll close. All right, hi. Yeah, hope your VPN's working as well at the moment. But yeah, I'm good, thank you. So like I said, I was just sending you that message where we were laughing at the because I had this idiot. I need to put do not disturb on, otherwise my phone's going to keep beeping during the bloody stream with because it's the first of the month. It's the sad day where lots of things go. Oh, we've taken this money out of your account because of like obviously first of the month. I've got my account set that most of my bills come out on the first. Because obviously payday for most things is like at the very back end of the month. So by having it on the first, like normally the money's safely in my account by the time they try and take money out. But yeah, so I basically had this guy, I did it as a post that was like, oh, I don't buy anything Chinese. I certainly wouldn't trust them for a gas mask. You're an idiot if you buy a Chinese gas mask or something like that, he said. Even though half the stuff in his house would be fucking Chinese because of the fact that, all the components and things that are made in China and all the products that are made in China. But, you do get idiots like that. I don't know if he's American or wherever else. I'm not saying that to insult an individual country. I'm sort of interested in what the mentality of somebody like that is. But yeah, like I said, the stupid thing now with YouTube is, so these community posts I do, the community posts get way more views than my videos. And it's really, really frustrating now because, like I said, it's like, I don't mind doing the community posts, but it's just the fact I can make a post and thousands of subs potentially see it within a day or two. Yeah, if I do a proper post, like, a video or a short, it doesn't send them out to people. And YouTube is meant to be a video sharing platform, not, oh, look at this picture and have a bit of text. Like, they're turning it into Twitter, essentially. And Hype said, speaking of the MF14, let me see if there's still the surplus PLARF kit for sale. PLARF kits issue the MF14 with a special hose and large special rocket propellant filter. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Like I said, the MF14, I don't mind it at all. Like I said, it's not the best panoramic mask in the world, but it's certainly not bad. It's, like I said, it's, if out of the panoramic masks I've got, there's ones that are definitely better for it. But for the retail price of the new MF14, they're pretty damn good. Because again, like, the problem is, other than buying from like AliExpress and directly from Chinese manufacturers, there are barely any like masks you can get new for that sort of price. You're lucky even to find like panoramic surplus gas masks for £30 to £50 now, the way things going. Oh yeah, a load of people have shown interest in that helmet I listed, and I have said this to some people in PMs, but sadly I can't send it out outside the UK. That's why it says UK only on the listing. Because the problem with it is that lots of stuff like that might be ITAR restricted. I've heard other people say they've had issues that, if they send gas masks and helmets to certain countries, that they end up getting confiscated. And obviously, if I sell it, then I'm the one that has to like refund you, and I've lost an item. So yeah, it's going to be UK only for that item. That's interesting. So Plant 908. Okay. Yeah, not some random bumfuck factory like the Pewter ones or whatever of mask doesn't need to work, it just needs to sell. Um, so yeah, like I was saying, so the annoying thing is with any of the surplus I'm selling at the moment, all of the stuff sadly I'm selling at the moment will probably have to be UK only sales, just because of the fact that like I said, that because of various ITAR rules, like for example with France, if you're in France, you can't buy like military gas masks, helmets, or anything like that. They get confiscated as soon as they're sent there, and I wouldn't even get the item back. So basically, I'd have to refund the person who bought it from me, and I'd lose my item. So it's essentially giving it away at that point to some fucking customs official. So yeah, sadly, with any of the items I'm selling, unless they're just I sell some stuff that is very, very generic kind of military surplus. And again, like the problem is taxes and everything like that, and also parcels, because the problem is as well with parcels and shipping is in the UK I obviously can ship stuff for a certain price, but if you then have to ship it overseas and then there's taxes on it and then you have to pay for the courier when it gets to whatever country, it can make the prices just stupid. So like I said, really it's easy for everyone if I don't sell the stuff internationally. Like I said, it's a shame because I need to get some of this stuff sold, and I'm already selling stuff quite competitively priced. But it's not really shifting at the moment. Any of the stuff I've listed, I will keep mentioning I've got it up for sale. Oh, and there was some cheeky fuck yesterday, where even though I don't have set to accept offers on eBay, eBay apparently still let people send you offers regardless. The DP5A model, the rarest DP5 model, I had listed for less than £200 because of the fact that that's a good price, because most people sell like the more common DP5E for 200 to 300. Go on then, Dario. Somebody offered me 15 fucking pounds. No, I think £13.50 for it. Yeah, they offered me £13.50 for the DP5. Like, oh, will you accept this offer? Like, no, I will not accept like £14 for a Geiger I'm already selling at a loss. But I don't know if that person, I don't know if they genuinely maybe forgot to add an extra zero to their number, because if they were going to offer me 140 for it, I'd actually consider that, and then maybe come back and say, what about 150? But the fact they were like £15, £14 for a fucking working DPA Geiger counter. Yeah, if you do that, I'd probably just end up blocking you, Psychonaut. Where is the Shum 41 originally from? It's Russian or Soviet. If you're on about, if it has the C in it, it's East German. Although East Germany didn't make them, so although they made their own carry satchels from everything, they're just Soviet contracts. A lot of them, I think, were the Baltics. They were made for East Germany, but they could be from any of the Soviet stockpiles. But yeah, the Shum 41 without the C, SHM 41 is a Soviet mask. If it's got the C in it, it's East German, but it's not actually made by East Germany. Yeah, like I said, Hype, it's the one I'm definitely going to keep is the IMD5, because it's just like a DP5 but better. I'll probably keep my DP5V kit though, because I have got the full kit for the V. The V is, again, as much as I kind of like the look of the older like brown bake like ones, the V is just a better unit because of the fact it's slightly more modern. They've done them slightly better. That's annoying, but yeah, it's because, again, it's like when COVID made all the masks go up and things like that. There are things like that, aren't there, that affect the markets where stuff that would have been sensible prices went silly. And again, like, although I sent you that what was it, like the MD3, you're not going to be able to with the with the MD3, you're not going to be able to detect that there's something in the water, unless of course there's something very, very, very wrong with your water, that you're getting into the Rontgen range or the centigrade range, because that's upgraded to centigrade from Rontgen for the MD3. But yeah, it's one of those ones that, yeah, the doomsday meters are only really useful if there's been, if you're measuring X-ray equipment kind of stuff, really hot sources, or there's been an actual nuclear disaster. Geiger counters or like scintillation counters or like spectrometers are what you actually want for proper radiation levels if you want, but there might be a minor increase. That's there, no worries. Again, it's a bit like the Soviet DP2. I really like the old Cold War ones where they were built, to be like kind of retard, squaddy proof or Mobic proof, whatever you want to call it, where you had to make the meters really, really sturdy because you knew the people handling them would have a habit of breaking you know, stuff like that. There, Hype there is the guy. If you brought nods, it probably would be him. Yeah, and he's just confirmed it is. So yeah, I have got a gas mask video out I put up yesterday, and again, barely anyone's watched it because I guess you didn't get the notifications for it. So again, like saying that's frustrating. Oh, I'm only down minus 15 subscribers now when I was down minus a lot more. Oh, no, I'm down minus 57 subscribers. Sorry, that's because I was looking at the wrong metric. But yeah, YouTube's been taking subs off me now as well. Or it's just unsubscribing people randomly, so make sure you check that you're actually still subscribed. Yeah, I have got Supreme Leader Kim. I have got many masks. Too many, that's why I'm trying to get rid of some. But the problem is, like I said, can't really ship lots of stuff like that internationally because of all different countries having different laws. So like I said, I'm just hoping somebody in the UK actually wants to buy my stuff at the relatively good prices I'm offering it. Obviously, I do know in the UK, everybody is getting poorer. So, you know, lots of stuff like surplus people can't even... Botchelin, you did make a comment says, as skeptical as I can be about Chinese build quality, PPE and official stuff, it's not what I'd be concerned about. I mean, I don't know what you mean, what you'd be concerned about. But like I said, with Chinese gas masks, the actual military style ones are absolutely fine. Again, with China, you do have to understand, like a lot of countries, there's a massive difference between stuff built for the PLA and, like, you know, civil industry kind of stuff compared to, you know, just some cheap bastard exporting it. 40, what 40 for what? Sorry, $40 for what? Sorry, Dario. I think it's censored whatever you asked about having. Well, I really like the S10, but it's not the S10. Again, it's going to really vary on what type of things you like in masks. I really like the C50, but some people don't like the C50. I think technically things like the Avon FM53, FM54 are kind of like some of the best ones. Again, Dario, I don't know what particular thing you're asking about because it's censored whatever you said about the model. So you're just saying $40, but you're not saying what it was for. Because I'm scrolling up and I can't see. Oh, what the Shum 41 are you on about? No, that's not a bad price at all considering what they cost now. But yeah, like Avon FM53s and FM54s are technically kind of like some of the best masks on the market in terms of multifunction. But like as a civilian, I don't need a lot of those functions, so then they get in the way. Because that's the weird thing, like some of the masks, is I think people forget that if there's features you really don't need, they kind of get in the way and add more weight and, you know, like bulk to the mask and stuff like that. So it's again, like if you weren't particularly going to need a drinking tube, I'd advise getting a mask without a drinking tube because it's another fail point and the mask to be cheaper without the drinking tubes. But if you really wanted a drinking tube, then getting a mask with a good drinking tube is obviously a good option. I've got a couple equalizer, but haven't shot them in ages for reasons I've said about loads of times, so I'm not going to keep going into. But basically, I'm just in an environment now where I might have a certain person claim I'm like doing irresponsible things with it, and I don't want to have to deal with the police. Again, that's why I like, you know, I'd advise people if they have fences put up, get fences that are taller than the person so they can't see what you're doing in your garden. Because even if you're doing something, you know, you can legally do. You sometimes get people that are like Karens and busybodies that don't like the fact you're using something you can legally use in your garden. And they make a fuss about it. So I've got an air pistol, 2 air rifles, and 1 air rifle's a bit fucked, and a Daisy Red Rider, which is like a classic powerful BB gun, as is in not an airsoft gun. You would not want to be shot by a Red Rider, but it's technically like the old-fashioned BB gun, like the one in Fallout 3, kind of, you know, where it's like a crank BB gun. I mean, this isn't a channel that really talks about true crime or anything, Stony Lonesome. I mean, Charlie Manson was a bit of an interesting bloke. But again, like all that, was it Sharon Tate, whatever, I really don't know and I don't care. It's not like what this channel's about. Yeah. Actually on both sides now, Equalizer, because let's just say the problem is that, what I was going to say, like the problem is that, yeah, as like the people that, you know, like, you know how things have gone from like high trust to low trust in like loads of societies. It's that sort of thing where you used to have like really, really friendly people you do favors for on either side of the fence and all that. And it's just as time goes on, it gets to the stage where, like, you know, you just end up being suspicious of those sort of people. If you mean, yeah, but again, they might phone the police up and say that it's not an air gun and like I've got an actual illegal rifle or something, and then you have to deal with all that bullshit. Even if you're completely in your right, you still end up having a load of time wasted, and potentially having armed cops turn up, that kind of shit. So again, if I know nobody's around, it's all right. And again, it's like I'm legally in my right to do it, but that doesn't mean that you won't get fucking Karens and whatever deciding, oh no, you can't do that. That's why, like I said, the people I know that enjoy shooting air guns the most are the ones that don't really have neighbours, because then there's nobody to fucking bitch about it. Yeah, exactly. But the problem is, hype. This area is very much NIMBY of oh, I don't like anybody being near my house, because again, they're all fucking boomers. That's why. Well, no, I'm only selling a couple of bits. There's one Scott Pro mask, or M98. I think it's the Pro mask variant. I've got on eBay at the moment, but I'm not listing every gas mask I have, and they're not going to all be listed at once. I'm going to sell a couple, then sell a couple more. No, nearly all gas masks, Nathan. If you've watched my channel, you'll know that nearly everything I've got is gas masks. Helmets are kind of one of the next most common things in terms of how many I've got. Then it's going to be after helmets, maybe Geiger counters. But the reason I got loads and loads of gas masks, other than finding them cool, is when I first started getting gas masks, they used to be really, really dirt cheap because there wasn't much of a market for them prior to COVID. So lots of army surplus stores that also don't exist now, would sell gas masks as like £20, £30, and they generally have loads of interesting models in because they just get bulk orders from various bits of Europe or whatever when armies were, like selling off their stuff. But the problem is now we've got to the stage with gas masks after COVID that the supplies are much shorter. You get people scalping them and whatever else. Again, if you're in the UK and interested in my eBay stuff, again, I use my dad's account to sell stuff because he manages an eBay account. Again, and I have dropped the prices. Just scrolling down. There you go. So, like I said, at the moment, I've got a DP5A that, again, because when I list the items, I don't see the fee, like the eBay fees. So technically, I've listed that DP5A, for example, as £180, but it's 187 because eBay adds a fee onto it. So essentially, yeah, just under 190 for a DP5A, just under 90 for a finished Pro mask, and it should on here also have the helmet if it's listed it properly. Because yesterday I had no. So there's actually, annoyingly, I've got a helmet for sale and I have linked it, but the helmet, for whatever reason, doesn't show up properly on the eBay listing. It's like they've not fully listed it yet. And the helmet is dirt cheap. What is it? It's £50 for the British Army Mark 7. I don't think I'd hunt elephants. I'd maybe be a Van Pelt that hunts people, like from Jumanji. Not good enough, Sonny Jim. But yeah, I think they're yeah, it's listed equalizer. Like I said, go to my channel. You can manually find it. If you go to, so go to my community post, because I can get the link up for you manually. It's just, like I said, it's just because fucking eBay, for some reason, I listed that like yesterday afternoon, right after the stream I did yesterday when people were talking about that helmet. And then for whatever reason, eBay hasn't properly listed it. They also got funny about the Mark 7 because I said it was a Kevlar helmet. And then eBay was going, oh, you can only actually say it's a Kevlar helmet if it's from DuPont. Well, it's like, no, because DuPont sold the recipe to Kevlar to loads and loads of countries. But eBay's like, oh, no, you can't list it as a Kevlar helmet. So I had to call it like a ballistic aramid helmet or whatever it was. But hang on, let me get the link. Like I said, it is listed. It's just eBay's being shit. There you go. I don't think you ever did. I think you sent me that canteen, but annoyingly, like the battery or whatever had died in it. And yeah, but I don't know if you ever sent me, because I did buy a couple of like Chinese water filters myself, but I can't remember if you sent me one or not. If you did, it was one that probably came with a load of other stuff and then got put somewhere. My dad just buys lots of music, listens to it, and then sells it kick blitz. I don't really know what kind of genres he likes the most. But yeah, So like I said, I don't mind like the classic English look because I suppose that's racist and not homophobic, but say like, oh, that's racist and intolerant. You can't. Shall I get the pith helmet on? Hang on, I have to reach over for that. Take it off the mannequin. This one is slightly too big for me now, especially I've shaved my hair. It's going to be way too big for me. But hang on. There we go. Put that on for some right-wing thuggery. Yeah, the thing that annoys me of eBay is I on purposely didn't put offers on. Can I get it even smaller? I'm going to probably need to just do this with like some sort of cap band thing, aren't I, to make the line smaller? Because the helmets I don't think are different in shape. It's just the like the inner liner bit that changes. Again, the reason for it Psychonaut is it apparently hides your shape. It looks stupid, but again, like we keep saying on all these things, if it makes it slower for somebody to shoot you, because it takes them longer to recognize a human silhouette, it's done its job. But like I said, the thing that annoyed me of eBay recently, again, I don't want the helmet really like that where I can't see, but there we go, is that I on purposely turned offers off because I didn't want, people sending piss take offers like that one I got the other day on the DP5. So offers are off. So in theory, I can send people that are interested in an offer that's cheaper than the listing price. But I've got it set up so people can't say I'll give you £10 for that £200 item like the one I got yesterday. But they still can send offers. So again, why does eBay give you the option of turning it off if they're just going to have it on anyway? It's like one of those annoying things because, like I said, I think when I list anything else now, you can do a thing I was reading where you can set a minimum offer price. So basically, if somebody sends a piss take offer, it just auto deletes it for you and you never even see it. But like I said, I don't know why somebody yesterday thought, oh, I'll offer you about £13 to £15 for a Geiger counter listed for nearly 200. Like, no, that is an insultingly low offer. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream as it ain't half hot, man. Which one's which one's Lofty in that? Weirdly, my granddad was known as Lofty when he worked for Morris Motors, and then it became BMW because he was really tall. I'm not really tall, sadly, but yeah, he was known as Lofty. Weirdly, which character's that from it? Glasses. Oh shit! I hit something on the thing. I didn't want to do that. Yeah. So again, I haven't really watched that. I know the drill sergeant character. But oh dear, what a shame. Never mind that one. Because I keep seeing that as like a piss take response to when somebody complains about something. Like, oh, a criminal got killed by the police after, like shooting somebody, and oh dear, never mind, or whatever it is. How sad, never mind. Yeah, apparently, Longden, though, it's the same problem on like Facebook Marketplace and loads of the others that you get. I didn't know if other people could see the offer. I did make a post about it, but yeah, it's just the fact that that's less than 10% of the item. Like, it's considered lowballing apparently normally if somebody offers you less than say your item's £100 and they offered you 70. Apparently that's normally considered lowballing by most people if it's under 20% off. But yeah, this guy was like, oh, I'm not going to even give you 10. I'm not going to even offer 10% of the item's cost. So give me 92% off or whatever. Right, Nathan, sadly I can't show them on stream. I can show things like the Diac grenades on stream, because weirdly YouTube doesn't have a problem with that. So, yeah, if I showed you something like my F1 grenade that's deactivated, YouTube does not care about that, weirdly. But if you touch a firearm at all on the live stream, you get a strike. So I've got quite a few Diac guns. Again, just watch the videos on them. I've got a few obsolete calibers. They're kind of more interesting than the Diacs because they are actually shootable. But again, with UK law, it doesn't mean that you can just load them up and shoot them in your garden, for example. You are meant to use them at proper range and all that. But because they're considered obsolete or antique guns, you can own them, with no licensing required. They don't even need to go in a gun safe. So, for example, I've got a Martini Henry, a Schmidt Reuben, a couple of old obsolete caliber revolvers, the Steyr Mannlicher, a couple of muskets. Those don't actually require any sort of license. And again, you can't just load them up and shoot them. Right, Dave? But, in theory, you can own them, more easily than a lot of other stuff because you just have to be over 18 to buy them. And then, you can just hang them on your wall or put them wherever. But yeah, YouTube's policies now with firearms and live streams are really, really annoying because of the fact that it is just basically, what was I going to say? Where you can't basically show them at all on the stream. You have to even be careful if they're in the background. Yeah, I've got some crossbows. I haven't used them in ages, and Equalizer, if you know, the government wants to get rid of crossbows soon. Well, we don't really know how bad it's going to be. Basically, what they want to do is, so after these women were murdered by some cunt with a crossbow, like some nonce with a crossbow, raped this, oh, I can't use that word on YouTube, oops, raped his ex and then murdered them with a crossbow, the family. The government says, all right, we need to make laws on crossbows stricter because this is like a bad media thing. Even though we average like 1 crossbow murder per year in the UK. But anyway, so they did an online consultation that ran for months about like, do you think the law should stay the same, you know, be made stricter, or like basically like an outright ban? I think about 92% of all people said keep the laws the same. And a lot of these were retailers and people that actually bring money into the economy, you know, like manufacturers, retailers, things like that. They said keep the laws the same. Most users, because, you know, it's archery, it's a hobby, said keep the laws exactly as they are. And then between the like remaining 7 or 8%, where it was about half of that was totally ban them, half of it was, you know, like make the laws a bit stricter. The government said, oh, even though 92% of you said you want to keep the laws the same, we're going to make the laws stricter. Because again, with these things, they don't give a shit about what the actual public opinion is, what expert opinion is on any of these things. What they end up doing is just saying, right, because we've already come to our own conclusion on what we want to do, we're going to basically, you know, make the laws worse. But they haven't said yet what they're actually going to do in regards to those changes, if that makes sense. So we don't know how much worse it's going to get. It could be anything from your name just has to be recorded at the point of buying them, like they used to do with blank firers. Like, you know, name and address has to be written down. I think they did the same thing with air rifles. Or it could be as bad as outright ban everything. You have to turn them in for no money kind of shit, like they did with blank firers. Favorite video games from my youth: Oddworld Zabe's Exodus was probably my favorite game ever. Stronghold and Stronghold Crusader, like my favorite RTS game. Well, if they do, they wouldn't publish it, would they? Because if they find a World War II weapon, if they said they'd found it, they'd be getting their door kicked in by the armed police. But, you know, I think a sensible person, if they found like a good condition Lee Enfield or Sten gun, would just hide it away somewhere. Yeah, we didn't even have gang crimes or anything hype with them here. That's the weird thing. Like I said, it's now, like I said, you typically have on average 1 murder per year with crossbows. And like I said, the worst year was that one where that guy, you know, did a raping and killing of a family with it and killed 3 people. But again, he could have knifed them. It didn't really matter if he had a crossbow at that point. Because, you know, if he had a machete or a knife, he'd have still done it anyway. But yeah, like typically in a year, you either get an accidental death where somebody fucks about with one and, you know, or maybe sides themselves with it. Or, you know, now and again, you do have a murder committed with one. You know, but again, they're normally murders that could have been committed with a knife or whatever else anyway. It's just the person chose to use a crossbow. So again, they really shouldn't be banned because, like I said, there's barely any harm done with them. I mean, I don't know how many times people use them to intimidate people, and you could say, you know, like less serious crimes. But yeah, in terms of actual murders or deaths of crossbows, it's like averages 1 to 2 per year at most. Oh, so China had the exact same problem the UK had. Yeah, in the UK, with most of our firearms laws, up until about the 80s, they were very lax. They were quite similar to a lot of US states, where you basically didn't need a license, or the license was very, very straightforward and anyone could get one. So shotgun licenses used to just be, you went to the post office and like a fishing license, you handed over some money to get a certificate to say you were a shotgun owner. And then the problem was we had the Hungerford shooting in the 80s, where a guy called Michael Ryan, who was a fucking nut job that shouldn't have been allowed guns in the first place, used a Chinese Type 56 AK and an M1 carbine and shot up a village, you know, and then like a load of the police responding until the actual armed police came in and he, you know, shot himself in the head, I think. And then we had Dunblane, the school shooting in the 90s, where a nonce, basically, because he was getting done for being a nonce, decided to go out in a blaze of glory, murdering children with handguns. You know, which was, he probably had a massive hard-on while doing it because he was a nonce. You know, and the police didn't say when they first charged him and all that with being a nonce, they didn't go, right, let's take your guns away in case you do something stupid. They let him have his guns. Then he did what, you know, anybody's going to probably do, in the sense of they know they're doomed anyway, so they're going to go out shooting. And they're like, all right, now we have to ban all the handguns. Probably a lot of it was because of my granddad, because he served in World War II. And, like, you know, every time he used to babysit me or whatever when my parents were doing stuff, he'd talk about military stuff and take me to museums and whatever. Yeah, my dad used to have a knife when he was in the Scouts and all that. Didn't stab anyone. Again, it's also because it was a high-trust society. People didn't murder each other randomly. Now you have the problem that you could just be on public transport and somebody can gut you for no reason because of the fact that, you know, part and parcel of living in a modern-day multicultural whatever. Oh, speaking of knives, I did dig out my Opinel the other day when I was looking for my Fairbairn sights and couldn't find it. Opinels are really nice. Again, these are kind of weird under UK law, Opinel, because like this, they're completely legal, but they have the folding collar that makes it a lock knife. So technically, is that Opinel legal or not? That's the weird thing with Opinels. They're like in a kind of weird grey area of the law that, you know, it's hard to know what they actually come under. That's that quick little pull through a few times. Oh, I bent the tip slightly on this. I might have done a body armor test for this one at one point, seeing as it, see the bent tip? I probably ended up, doing a body armor test for this one at some point, or, you know, testing it, going into something and it bent the tip, because again, Opinels aren't particularly good for stabbing, but they are good little pocket knives, Opinels. All right, I'm getting rid of the person that's just talking absolute bullshit. Again, some types of crime has gone down. Murders, rapes, things like that have gone up. So, I'm less likely to have whatever stolen. Yeah, good on you. But serious crime is up. And I absolutely hate the gaslighting that politicians do, where they cherry pick statistics. I'll get you the example of this up. Hang on. So, what crime has increased in London since 2000? Yeah, crime trends in London have shifted dramatically since 2000. Overall recorded crime has risen by roughly 30% over the last decade, with major increases in mobile phone theft, shoplifting, computer misuse, and sexual offences. Knife crime. While homicide rates are at a historic low, overall knife-enabled crimes and weapons possession have trended upwards since 2016, though they sometimes fluctuate. So again, overall, less people have been murdered, but, you know, more people end up getting stabbed, more people end up getting, like, mugged with a knife. So again, you know, I'm not going to be gaslit by, you know, either idiots or people that are politically, you know, against our country by saying, oh, no, it's better than it's ever been. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying ears. And again, one of my friends lives in London, and when I went to visit him, he gave me a list of never get your phone out in public, you know, make sure it's in a properly secured pocket that you can see at all times. You know, he had to go through all that stuff with me. I mean, I knew all that stuff, but, you know, he didn't want me to get, like, my phone nicked or, you know, my wallet nicked or whatever. So, no, none of us are accepting this bullshit that we keep trying to peddle on us, that, no, it's better than it's ever been. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying ears. All right, Analog, you've already said hello, so I don't want you to say said hi again, because you already said what was my favourite video. Don't forget to like the stream, everybody. But, yeah, there is a big disinformation campaign, either from, you know, like government spook type people that want to make it sound like they're doing, that's all right, doing a better job than they're, you know, doing. Or you, like I said, you have useful idiots that are like, oh, politician I like said crime is going down, so it must be. I can't look into the statistics myself. Also, there's a massive problem that people, because they know the police are so fucking shit now at solving lots of crimes, they don't bother reporting a crime. Because, you know, like, they know that nothing's going to be done about it. So, for example, like with phone theft, people normally report it because then they can get, like, a police number that, even though the police aren't going to do anything about the crime itself, they can get a number they can give to an insurance company to get the money back for the phone. So those sort of crimes are reported. But again, lots of people don't report various crimes because the police don't give a shit about it. Let's just ask ChatGPT in general, for example. What crimes have risen and fallen in the UK since 2000? Because again, that's 20 odd years ago. It's a good place to have a, you know, rough estimate of where the crime rates have changed. fraud, cybercrime, shoplifting, and some knife-related offences have risen. So it's saying most traditional crimes have fallen, but that's because in some ways you can't commit the very traditional crimes anymore because of the way our society works. Yeah, it's YouTube equalizer because, again, YouTube is very, very, very anal now about what people can talk about on here. It's getting really annoying on live streams because, again, people sometimes have a go at me saying, "Oh, you're blocking my messages," or whatever. No, I'm not. It's because YouTube just shadow bans half the comments people make if they're about certain things. Yeah, so it's like saying, for example, burglary for the most part is down because of the fact that people have less valuable stuff in their house, and people have better windows and doors on their houses, CCTV, and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit like car theft. People don't really break into cars as much to steal stuff in the car because most people know not to, leave valuables in a car if you've got it parked, or at least hide them out of sight. Yeah, because it's saying that's like, again, vehicle crime is saying has massively fallen. So yeah, fraud has risen because of online banking, e-commerce, stuff like that, cybercrime and things like that. Hacking, ransomware, whatever's gone up. All right, Guna. Shoplifting has massively risen because if you've seen the videos, yeah, but phone thefts are at an all-time high kick. So yeah, they're mostly just stealing your phones, especially in London. Yeah, because again, in my area, there's not a high street really that exists anymore. So yeah, you wouldn't have a thief trying to target people because nobody goes to the shops there because they're dead. Exactly. But yeah, so yeah, shoplifting is insane now. Because yeah, if you've seen like the Greggs that now have to look like some sort of ghetto liquor store where they like buzz people in and they serve them from behind like a bank teller's counter because of people just taking everything off the shelves. Yeah, knife crime. Knife crime rose significantly from the early 2010s onward, especially in some urban areas. I wonder if it was anything to do with the demographics. Although recent data suggests it has peaked and begun falling again. But again, is that because people aren't reporting it? Because again, this is like the problem that like some of the cops are saying, the ones that are quite honest. They're saying like, really, even if you don't think the police are going to deal with something, you should report it just because then they can't pretend the crime rates are going down, because that's the thing. Theft, so yeah, knife crime is like what went all that up. Theft from a person, pickpocketing, phone snatching, and street thefts have increased in some cities during recent years, particularly after the pandemic. Also, what happened after the pandemic? The Boris wave. 4 odd million people from the third world were invited in. I wonder if that contributed to it. Can't say that, I'm racist. Online sexual offences up. So yeah, the crimes that have fallen, that these sort of people can technically gaslight you into thinking, oh, the crimes are down, are because they're the crimes that kind of aren't relevant anymore. I like Mark Felt and stuff. Yeah, I've seen the Royal Navy one he did a couple of days ago. Maybe you only got recommended it today. He did one a couple of days ago about the Royal Navy. I think he did one a couple of weeks ago about the Royal Navy's decline as well. But yeah, I normally watch Mark Felt ones. I don't necessarily watch all his videos. I normally watch ones more in the subjects I'm interested in. Yeah, so fraud, major rise, cybercrime, huge rise, shoplifting, significant rise, knife crime up, but apparently not as bad in about the last year. But again, there was the thing about that kid called Henry Novak, whatever his name was, knifed to death, and then was called racist. And when he was bleeding out, the police handcuffed him because they'd rather believe what a non-white person said. Again, so theft from person rise, online sexual offences large rise. So no, I'm not going to be gaslit by people who are like, no, crime's at an all-time low. Stop being a paranoid bigot. No, I didn't see the White House or MB tweet. I only really see Trump's meltdowns on Truth Social, in all honesty. Now I don't really look at anything to do with his administration. Yeah, that's happened in a few shopped equalizer. That yeah, if you try and stop a criminal, you'll get fired because your company doesn't want liability for it. That's the British style of PIF helmet. So like the ones they have in Zulu are the white type. Afterwards, they did like khaki, whatever you want to call it, ones because they were better camouflage rather than being bright white. So I have got one of the bright white ones somewhere, but I don't actually know where it is. But yeah, this one, I do need to manually maybe put a safety pin on the thing because the problem is with the liner on this one is the large size is good for being like, like that. but the strap I can't do up tight enough, basically, because the Velcro only goes to a certain part of the strap. So yeah, I do need to find a way of manually tying, like, you know, that bit, the Velcro kind of liner smaller. Like, so probably I'll get a safety pin or do it like that or something. Actually, I'll tell you what I could use, but I don't know where I've got one handy, even though I've got a load of them. You know, some USB cables come with those, like, Velcro ties to neaten up the USB cables. I could do with one of those. And we've got another fucking troll on, so goodbye. I'll read out what he said if it lets me on my PC. He was going like, oh, you need to be groomed properly to wear a PIF helmet. Let's have a look at his channel, because he's going to be a cunt. Go to channel. I can also look at what he's posted on my channel. He joined 12 years ago. The only message he's ever made on my channel in the last year is that one. So yeah, he's... Well, that's a funny thing now. You can tell with YouTube's stuff when he's got videos of cats on his channel. Never AI content here, just cat shorts. Littlest Mommy's Cat, Abandoned Floth Balls of Bangkok. Oh, he's one of those channels that farms views on animals. So yeah, I think he was a cunt to me, so I'm going to be a cunt back. I'm not going to definitely accuse him of this, but there's loads of these channels, if you've seen them, that basically on purposely put an animal in distress so they can pretend they're rescuing it. I get that sort of vibe from him. Might not be that. Might be being overly harsh there, but again, you come on here and be a cunt, you're getting blocked. No, because I already blocked that guy. Again, if you make stupid comments, you get blocked. Not if it's a stupid comment where you're just asking stuff, you know, properly. But you know, when you when you just come on here to be a dick, I've got no patience for it. No, again, I don't mind having a little go at them, because again, it does bring a bit of engagement. Again, the people that are genuinely really, really nasty, they get no engagement whatsoever. They're blocked. I just find it funny when you know, that, because again, that person looks like they've actually got a bit of a channel, because again, lots of them are just anonymous accounts, like, you know, like bot accounts. But no, the guy who was saying Chinese gas masks are bad was like one of those channels with no content whatsoever, you know, with like a very generic, almost auto-generated username. Because again, like I said, with YouTube, the problem is that they're really bad at vetting, you know, like mass-made accounts, you know, like botting reasons of you know, like Russian bots or whatever, you know. And again, the UK government probably does it to other countries, where they just mass create accounts to go like, oh, I agree with this point, or no, this person is bad, kind of thing. Yeah, because again, like, I don't ever, like, so for example, if I'm on YouTube and I see a YouTuber that's a bit overweight and they're making videos, I don't go, oh, fatty, why don't you lose some weight, or whatever in the comments. And you know, loads of people, that's all they fucking do on the comments. Like, I don't get it. Like I said, I go on YouTube to engage with people's content. You know, I don't really give a shit if somebody, you know, is balding, because you get that. I've seen that on other people's things. Like I said, I've shaved my hair at the moment, so people can't say you're balding. But I see that on other people's, where they're like, oh my God, look at your stupid balding head, you know, and all that sort of stuff. You know, and all, again, and you sometimes see it where there's people like with disabilities, and there's people going like, oh, you fucking Down syndrome, like, you know, whatever. And it's like, oh, again, those people are generally the people that are bitterest people in their own lives. You can generally easily tell, because, you know, again, if somebody's generally happy and content with life, they don't go around trying to upset other people. Yeah, exactly, Kick. That's the point I'm getting at. That generally the most successful people I've known in life, as in, you know, like, they're healthy, you know, they have a good exercise routine or whatever, you know, they have a wife and kids or whatever. They're not the people that go around trying to make other people miserable. Generally, it's very insecure people that do that, because again, they've got shit going on in their own life and they want to make other people miserable so they can feel better. But anyway, yeah, that person's gone anyway. So yeah, we've had one person come on out of nowhere telling me about how I'm stupid because the crime rates are going down, not up. And then we've got somebody come on with that. So again, it could be that they're related accounts. I don't know. I was having another look at this guy's message. He said he had groomsmen wear piff helmets at his wedding. What sort of fucking wedding did you do if people had things? He's like, I'm afraid they will see this. Why would I give a shit if your mate saw this, if you have any mates? Again, I don't know why I'm reading this comment out, but yeah. Whatever. Like I said, I do need to actually put a band into this one. With you know, like I said, a tightening sort of thing. Because like I said, the problem is with this one that if I get a small, the shell is too small. If I get a large, like the liner is kind of too big, even though the helmet itself is yeah, thank you, Wise. See, Wise is all right. Most of the other people are all right. Yeah, and exactly as Gunnar and Kick have both said, that's the thing is normally happy people or you know people that are just average go and watch stuff because they want to watch the content, not to try and insult people non-stop. I can't do that sadly on YouTube. I don't think via the phone. I think this is always the wrong way around. Yeah. Sadly, yes. As far as I'm aware, via this, yeah. Why did they make it? Because it's stylish. Again, it's like the frogs had one that looked like this. Hang on. I've got some shit in there. I need to make sure it doesn't fall out. So, the frogs had one that looked like this. So the frog one looks like that. Again, different nations have different styles. Because the British one, if you know a bit of the history about the helmet, that's where the police helmets came from. These essentially, like you know, the old-fashioned constable's helmet or whatever, sort of kind of evolved from a piff helmet because you can actually see the same look to it. So the French have these sort of looking ones. The Vietnamese copied the French ones and just made them better because the Vietnamese ones are the ones with the you know, like the star on it. I've got a Vietnamese one behind me. But the French ones I don't like because they've got plastic on the inside, which actually breaks part of the idea of how a piff helmet's meant to work. Piff helmets are designed that they're like a material like that, so sweat and everything evaporates. Yeah, I think I had the Viet Cong style one behind me, NBA one. Somewhere, but like I said, there's a lot of shit behind me, so I don't know. Oh, that's where the GP7 style filter went that somebody asked me about the other day. Oh well, the commie helmet's probably got buried somewhere like they always do. So, you know, never mind. Like I said, this is my favourite one because historically, I'm going to come to your country and fuck it up look. You know, it's a bit like, it's like the British Army's version of a Stahlhelm, isn't it? Yeah, this one you can adjust, but like I said, it's got a Velcro thing, and the Velcro only lets you adjust it by about 1 or 2 centimeters. Funny enough, again, it will be mirrored for you, but made in Vietnam, because Vietnam is like the world's top maker of piff helmets. And again, I like the fact they do. I have got a safari jacket somewhere. Hang on, I'll show you something where we were mentioning it earlier in the stream. I know where this is. Hopefully it's not too bent. I do have a signed one of these, but it'll be mirrored for you guys. But there you go. The light's reflecting off of it badly. Yeah, I do have one of these. But yeah, it said I definitely could do the Van Pelt look. I do have a safari jacket somewhere, and I have also got some like tan coats that, you know, like tan khaki coats that even the ones that aren't safari jackets that kind of match the color of the hat. Yeah, I didn't personally get it signed by him. It was like one of those like Comic-Con type companies that, you know, gets each person that has a stall there to sign a load so they can sell them. So yeah, it's Jonathan Hyde, isn't it, the actor that plays Van Pelt? He's not in that many movies, but I think he's good in Jumanji. And again, Van Pelt's a great character because it's just like, you know, a British colonial version of the Terminator, essentially. You miserable coward, come back here and fight me like a man. You have the giant fucking elephant gun and then gets the fucking auto shotgun later on. But yeah, what was I going to say? What time is it in the UK? It's exactly 11:23. So what I've got, Jay, now on Linux, you won't be able to see it. I can actually mirror the thing to show you because I brought it up here. But so Los Angeles is 03:23, New York is 06:23. So I guess you're what, in like one of the sort of more central states, are you, where the time's like not as far as that? Yeah, exactly, Blaze. But the problem is, if I get a moustache like that, can't do gas mask tests anymore. That's the problem. Same reason that even if I could grow a good beard, I wouldn't do it. Because, yeah, that's the issue, is that if you actually get a really big tash, the masks don't seal to your face properly anymore. Yeah, see, what I've done with this look is, again, it's not going to look particularly good because I'm showing it from my phone to the screen. But with Linux, I've on purposely set up a thing so I can see the zones in various countries. So, like in Beijing at the moment, it's 24 minutes past 6. Sydney, it's 24 minutes past 8. You know, it's 11:24 in the UK. So I've got that so I know when I'm streaming what sort of time zones people will be in, you know, that may or may not be on. Just because it makes it easier if people say, oh, I'm in America, can you do a stream when I can watch it? Again, I do know, obviously, evening in UK time is like early afternoon in America time, you know, but just as a rough thing. Thank you, Grim Fist. Again, like I said, the annoying thing is, like, people saying it's mirrored the wrong way around, but there's no way you can stop YouTube doing that as far as I'm aware on, yeah, what's the camera icon do? Oh, no, it just turns off my camera. I don't want to do that. 7:25 in Japan right now. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah. So what is Japan? 1 hour after Beijing, or is in yeah? So I assume it means 7:25 p.m. Yeah, because yeah, you couldn't be earlier, could you? Because that's US time. It's like East Coast time, whatever. Slightly east of East Coast time, somewhere in the Atlantic for 7:25 at the moment. Yeah, not great, not terrible. Yeah, power plant on the hind or whatever it is. It looks like a hind shape on the shirt. Yeah. But yeah, so what else can we chat about that's interesting? Don't forget to like the stream, everybody, if you're on. And as I've said, what was I going to say regarding random shit on here? I did a gas mask video that went live at midnight that people voted for, and again, barely anyone's watched it because YouTube doesn't notify my subscribers about videos anymore. Again, the most people that get notifications now are for my community posts. And again, YouTube isn't meant to be Twitter, but they're turning it into Twitter now, where, yeah, you get the most views now on YouTube for uploading an image with a bit of text. Not for a short, not for a stream, not for a proper length video. Oh, we know what your subscribers and random YouTubers want to see. It's just a picture. And again, I'm glad my posts do get views because I can at least communicate through them. But it's just frustrating that just replying to one of the comments because somebody said typing on a device made in China about the guy that's like, I'd never buy Chinese. Yeah, exactly. Again, it just amazes me that people aren't aware like how much of your supply chain comes from China. And then, you know, these people are, I'll buy that Chinese crap. Again, I don't know if they're Americans or what. I want to buy made in the USA components. Oh no, that factory closed down because of Trump's tariffs. Oh shoot, I lost my job. Oh, thanks for if you resub. Yeah, YouTube's unsubbed a load of people recently. Yeah, if I go on my analytics, I'm just going to prove this to people. I'm going to make this a community post now. So let me do a shift print screen and I'll upload it. So save. Hopefully this is a picture in a resolution that YouTube likes, because earlier I had to keep with that comment editing the frame to get YouTube to let me upload it, because it's like, oh, this is the wrong aspect ratio. Oh, now it's too many pixels or whatever. So create post. I'm going to just put the image and then that little screenshot I just took. So I'll put and again, I think if you block somebody, it unsubscribes them. So if somebody subscribes to you just to be a cunt and then you block them, then I do think that's a minus sub. But again, this is the only month I've had in years where I'm down subscribers. Like, you know, because normally I'm up subscribers, even if it's not by a very big amount, like maybe, you know, 50 subscribers in a month plus. But I'm down 57 subscribers in the last 28 days, apparently. So YouTube's just randomly unsubbing people. So it says, while it may be that people don't like my content, YouTube seems to randomly be unsubscribing people and you're not the first person to mention this, because I've also had it happen to me as well, or other channels. So but as confirmed by some of my own viewers. So please check that you are still subscribed and tick the bell. Not putting comments, not that it does anything. Again, like I said, the best way of making sure you see my content is like maybe as bookmarking or favoriting my YouTube page. Because again, I've had to do that with channels I follow just because my feed gets filled with shit YouTube wants to push, not the content I actually want to watch. Again, if they don't like the AI thumbnails, fair enough, but YouTube only really promotes those now. And again, people for ages bitch my thumbnails didn't look good enough. Like, oh, don't just do a still from a video. You need to do arrows and whatever. And when people have done A/B testing, like Forgotten Weapons did this, he said that was the annoying thing for him, that more people would watch the video if he did the like AI enhanced thumbnails. So yeah, the problem is, sadly, as the market's changed, you have to change with it. And yeah, as much as I would rather have a bland, you know exactly what you're getting thumbnail, YouTube is making that impossible now. So don't hate the player, hate the game. Unfortunately, with all this shit, it's called enshittification anyway. This whole thing where we were on about it the other day. Yeah, Jay, like I said, this is a really annoying thing. Everybody knows it's happening, but YouTube says it isn't. And it's been this way for years with loads of problems with YouTube. But, what I would like with companies is if they genuinely said, oh, sorry, we screwed something up, we'll fix it. But so many companies now seem to just do the denial thing of, no, that's not happening. Again, like the whole crime isn't going up. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying ears. That kind of shit. That's the sort of thing that constantly keeps happening with loads of YouTube shit. That and all other websites, that stuff's broken, like with Windows 11. Everybody knows that there's problems. Microsoft doesn't fix them and instead just keeps doing like damage control. Again, most people only want you to just make a good platform. Again, with YouTube, all they need to do is make it primarily around videos like it used to be. Because they've tried to branch in, we want a bit of the TikTok audience with shorts. Maybe we want the Twitter thing with the community posts. We want to be like Twitch and Kick with live streams. They've just kind of spread their net too wide, and now it's a mess. Yeah, again, Kickblitz, it's the whole enshittification thing. So the enshittification thing, if you don't know, because again, my friend was bringing it up the other day, and I did look up, and it's a proper coin term. It's where companies start off being really user-friendly and offering a great service to get people engaged with them. When people are engaged, they become more business-heavy, so, more advertising, all this, to make it better for businesses. Then they turn on the businesses on behalf of the shareholders, and it just becomes a money extraction operation. It's called enshittification. It's how loads of companies doom spiral themselves because they, forget why they actually exist as a company in the first place. Because again, you can't keep generating money for your shareholders if you, Titanic your own platform. But sadly, loads of platforms do it because, they get a CEO that just is obsessed with money extraction. It's like how the Tories sold off all of Britain's, best industries, and then they died because it's like, oh, we'll just sell them off for some money in the short term. What could possibly go? I don't know. I'm doing this Kia voice, but it's the same kind of thing. What could possibly go wrong? My dad was a tool maker. They do that sort of shit, and then. Yeah, unsurprisingly, I've got a couple of police truncheons equalizer. I've got a modern replica of a police one, and I've got a genuine police one, but I don't know where they are off the top of my head. I think they're in a storage box somewhere. I've done videos on them. Good morning, Regiv. Yeah, maybe it's Kia making these accounts. How dare you say my father was a bad toolmaker? Again, he talks like a Dalek, doesn't he? You right-wing thugs will be exterminated. Jay said, kind of a change topic. I recently on eBay bid for US chemical agent detector kit. It's a little box with a series of steps used so I don't detect chemicals. Is it the sniffer like electronic ones, or is it like one of the old analog style ones? I know the exact kind of things you're on about. Because you can get the Warsaw Pact ones, which do chemicals change colour. The British Army for the regular troops, not like the proper chemical units, used to have like a kind of chemical strip thing, a bit like you'd use in a science class. And it would change a certain color to identify if there was a certain type of gas. I have no idea. I'm going to have to search what that is. I don't know. Is that something to do like a counter-terrorist thing? Counter-terrorism specialist firearms officer. Oh, is that like a US police thing? I've never seen those in the UK. Oh, there are UK ones, apparently, going by the thing. But no, never seen those for sale. So it's well, I guess like when they're not fully, completely bodied armored up. Because again, when even Google Images are showing different things than that. Okay, so it's similar to the British one, Jay, but it uses vials. Yeah, because like I said, I think that's more like the Warsaw Pact one. Yeah, again, pH paper though works quite surprisingly simple, doesn't it? Again, like I said, the modern armies have a lot of those electronic sniffer units, but I do know with some of those, supposedly, the vial type designs and the papers sometimes do show something faster than the sniffer units. Yes, in theory, Guna, and it was never a problem until the other week when that Sikh kid murdered that boy called Henry Novak. I'll say his name because Keir Starmer won. So the boy, I think, was called Henry Novak, and he was stabbed to death randomly by the Sikh boy with his Sikh knife. And then the Sikh kid said to the police, "Oh, he did a racism against me." And then when the boy was bleeding out, rather than admitting aid, the police handcuffed him and he bled to death. And now the police are like, "Oh, how could we have known that he was bleeding to death? Maybe do a fucking check on him, like you're meant to, you." Yeah. Again, he was killed because of diversity. And again, Sikhs are normally all right. But, you know, it's just this fucking thing of, oh, I'll claim racism, and then the police are suddenly going to do everything I want and not follow the rules properly. But yeah, hello everybody that's coming on. Don't forget to like the stream, and again, check you're still subscribed, because like I said, YouTube has unsubbed a load of my subscribers. Oh, I've got another message held for review. Shall we see what it is? Oh, it's another troll. It's somebody saying, "Why do I have boobs?" By the way. So it's because I'm sitting like that. If I'm stood upright, right? You know, if I'm stood upright properly, I've got a bit of pecs, but that's actual pecs. But it's because I'm wearing a slightly tight fitting t-shirt. But again, it amazes me that people don't know, like, pecs and muscles are a thing. Like, again, my body fat isn't really low or whatever, but I don't have fucking man boobs. But yeah, as Brown Street says, they are pecs. It's amazing to me that certain people don't know that, like, pecs are a thing. I suppose it's because, weirdly now, lots of guys like the really skinny twink look, don't they? Where they have, like, you know, like with the really, really thin six packs. And again, if you can do that and your body suits low body fat, good on you. But like I said before as well, I've got colitis. I need to have a healthy weight because otherwise I become skeleton thin. So if I got slight bits of fat in places, I don't really care. That's better than me being dangerously skinny. Let's see if this guy's made other comments on my channel. Hang on. So, channel activity. You said Paul Henry before that, but that was it. So he said Paul Henry and immediately said about my tits. Go to channel. Does he have any content? No, he's just favorited some random music videos. So yeah, again, not a content, not anybody that makes content. So M2Fit56A2 chemical agent detector kit. It's like the chemical agent detector tape paper in a little box of serious steps on it and a capable of it. It's a very cool. Yeah, they're cool. Again, I've seen the Warsaw Pact similar ones. No, a turban won't provide you much protection from a bike crash. I'd rather not get this into a thing just whinging about Sikhs or anything, but I'm just sort of saying, like, the fact with Henry, the main thing for me wasn't that he was stabbed, obviously, because again, any criminal, you know, it could have been a white guy that stabbed him or whatever, but it's the fact that Henry said he'd been stabbed and like he was bleeding. The police are like, no, you're not, supposedly in the court transcripts. And yeah, they handcuffed him, didn't check that he was bleeding, didn't administer first aid, and they arrested him without even questioning anybody because the other guy said, racism. You know. So this is the fucking problem with all this shit, is that the police force does not function properly if racism trumps everything else. I've heard even in America there's been problems like this, where there's been like legal defenses done that, oh, the reason I shot someone or sucker punched them was because they said something racist. Yeah, again, police should be on trial. If you're a copper and you don't do something like that, you're not doing your due diligence, you shouldn't have been a fucking cop. Again, it's the really sad thing with cops is when I've seen a lot of the videos of the cops that end up getting killed in action in various countries, they seem to be the cops that are generally the nicest cops. And again, I suppose they end up getting shot because they're a bit more trusting with people, and then somebody quickly whips out a gun and shoots them or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I watched the videos on Asmongold's channel, and again, he was watching it on somebody else's channel, about, yeah, this trooper that got killed. I think it was in California, because the guy said, oh, can I get my license? And the cop's like, sure, and then he whips out a gun and shoots him in the head. But then that guy at least did get fucking ventilated by like 50 cops afterwards. There was like a massive highway chase. They rammed him off the road using one of those like APC things. And then, yeah, cops with ARs, shotguns, pistols, all just mag dumped 70 odd times into him. I think he had 6 shots to the head and 1 shot that completely severed his spinal cord in the end. So at least that person's not going to be costing you any money on death row or whatever. They're at least, they got dealt with properly. Yeah, he got the 5-star wanted level immediately, yeah. But this is the thing, that's the sad thing with a lot of cops I've seen in videos like that. It's generally the police that are nicest, they end up being the ones that will get killed by a scumbag because they're not, they're not escalating things straight away. Yeah, again, Brunswick, that's the thing, because again, with UK cops, I've met loads of cops that are really nice people. The problem is it's that the reputation of the police gets destroyed really quickly by just having shit cops. Same with like US cops and whatever else. Because, it's generally like all these things, loads of good actions can be really quickly undone by one shitty bad action. Like same with like companies' reputations and whatever else. It's like with the UK, like lots of police I've dealt with in person have been quite professional. But the problem is, like I said, it doesn't take much, does it, for like one really, really poor bit of judgment from the police to ruin their reputations. Yeah, I can imagine, because again, if you're asking for someone's like license, registration, ID or whatever, there's so many places they could just quickly reach to whip out a gun, isn't there? Again, like there's a video I saw that was pretty horrific from years ago, although I think they used it to train police on why they shouldn't act like this. Where, if you've seen the one where like that crazy Vietnam vet guns down the cop a load of times and like goes to execute him when he's wounded, he like goes and gets a gun out the truck. All right, ISWJ. But yeah, I think that was the one where they said to the cop he should have disengaged and called him back up rather than, risking pulling his gun on the guy. But yeah, it's, again, those are just sad. Because again, like I said, it generally seems to be the police that try to act more reasonably that will get taken advantage of. I can't remember if it was, I thought it looked bigger than M1 Carbine in the video, but I never read the thing of, yeah. I know that's one like really horrible screaming on the video. Yeah, he had like an old pickup and that, yeah, and he goes, I think, back to the driver's side, then they're kind of like running around the vehicle while he's like, but yeah, I didn't read up on it, and again, because it's old dash cam, it's not that clear. It looked way bigger than M1 Carbine to me, but I'm not sure. Again, it was an M1 Carbine, okay, yeah, again, M1 Carbines are great rifles, and again, I'm not advertising that it's good for killing a cop. I'm just saying that, M1s are fucking handy little rifles, or M2s, as long as the mags up don't jam with them because they're old dented mags. Yeah, I don't know. It could more likely a Mini 14, but like I said, a lot of people are saying it's an M1 Carbine, so it might have been. Again, I've never read up what it was, and I've only seen it from like, a blurry video. Right, I'm glad he got killed, because like I said, not the cop, the guy that shot him, because again, you can always argue that if people had better mental health support, maybe they wouldn't do that. But like I've said, in the UK, there were cops that were killed in Hungerford with the Chinese Type 56, because again, they were unarmed cops that tried to go, that rushed towards danger, and then sadly were murdered for it. And that's happened with a few cops in the UK, that, the decent ones that try and be brave and stop a criminal go in way over their heads because they're trying to save people in the short term and don't think about the fact that, if somebody's got a gun and they're not, they're fucked. I have to be very careful what I'd say, Caleb, because if I say I'm going to do something and then it happens, they could use that against me in court. But for example, I've got lots of things like this around the house. So yeah, I have to be very careful what I say about picking certain things up and using them. I put the katana in the wrong way there. No, why is that fucking up going into the sheath? But I have got... Yeah. There we go. That was just being really shitty then, that going into the sheath. But yeah, in general, my policy is I've got lots of tools around the house. Let's say if I'm just picking up some Blu-rays that fell over. Like the end for your bayonet as well. Yeah, so basically something has to be two-hand, as you'd say. So if I on purposely kept a sword next to my bed for the sake of if somebody broke in the night, I could grab the sword, they could do you for that. If, for example, I had, you know, a sword as a wall decoration near my bed because I just kept it there, I heard somebody breaking in and was scared for my life, and then I grabbed that said sword, you know, you're more protected. But like I said, that's why I don't discuss that too much on here in case one of the things I discuss ends up being the thing that goes into a home invader. Yeah, because again, the M1 carbine was fine up to like 200 yards, wasn't it? Which was like most engagements were at that range or less. Because the problem is with the big rifle calibers was that was the thing. Most nations realised that, you know, although they had rifles that could shoot really far, most riflemen weren't skilled enough to shoot at those distances reliably. And, you know, most of the time engagements happened when people got surprised at closer ranges, not, you know, people across like a valley picking off each other in a valley. Like in Landstone for mountain warfare where you want like longer range guns. 30 carbine or 30 carbine, 30 carbine. Annoyingly, I think my M1 carbine isn't in this room. Not that I could show it, but I could probably show the mag on YouTube. So it's kind of like a 357 Magnum looking round. Not quite, but it's like, it looks like a really souped up pistol round. It's definitely not a rifle round. Yeah, so I'd get done for booby trapping my house, wouldn't I, Equalizer? Because they'd get crushed under a pile of surplus, and then the court would claim I booby trapped the house with it. No, I just live like this. I've shot a 22 LR bolt action before, and I've done shotguns before. There's a couple of guns I won't mention on here just because of, you know, various legality things around them, and it's sort of, you know, I have to be very careful if the range I went to was properly equipped to, you know, do it and that. But most of the ones I've done have just been like kind of farmers style guns. I've never shot a Lee Enfield or anything like that, sadly, as much as I'd want to. But yeah, like I said, I'm careful on YouTube because, again, if you go to somebody's private property where they legally own a firearm, but they don't necessarily in all areas of their property have enough range to legally shoot, if I shot a gun under supervision there, am I violating the law? It's like that sort of thing. That's why I want to be very careful what I say. Right. So again, farmers have basically the same rights as everybody else with guns, but because they can use the excuse that they're a farmer, they can more easily get a firearm. So most farmers would have an over-under shotgun or maybe a pump or a semi, although Labour, I think, is making the laws more restrictive on pumps and semis. So over-under is still probably your best choice if you're going for a shotgun. So 12 or 20 gauge, you know, 12, 20 bore is the most common for shotguns here. In terms of 410 is still pretty popular, but, you know, 12 or 20 is normally the more popular one. With rifles, rifles are harder to get, but if you get one, 22 LR is kind of like the easiest thing to get, and lots of people go for a Ruger 1022 because on the 22 LR, things like Ruger 1022s you can actually have in semi. Basically, every other caliber has to be bolt action or, you know, like a manual action to load each thing, like a lever action, bolt action, disconnected gas system. So, you know, you have to rack it back with every shot. So most people, if they get a rifle, get 22 LR, sometimes 17 HMR, I think it's called. I like the really high velocity round. But in general, yeah, it will be some sort of like varmint rifle type thing. That would still be legal, yeah, because like I said, as long as you've got the license, whatever kind of caliber it is, yeah, exactly. As long as it can properly kill a fox, it'd be fine. But again, if you have a rifle license, you also have the shotgun license because it's easier to get. And then you could there's a thing called fox shot we have over here, which I think is like with shot. Is it number 4 shot or fox shot? Let me have a look. Number 4 shot. Number 4, buckshot, yeah. Medium-sized games like coyotes or deer. So yeah, number 4 shot is pretty popular over here. That's a shame. Yeah, it's just lots of calibers, I suppose, more expensive, and 303 is drying up. Yeah. Yeah, Lee Enfield is a really lovely bolt action, aren't they? My Diac one, at least, I can fuck with the bolt like that. The Schmidt-Rubin's also really nice. I did see somebody online the other day saying the Schmidt-Rubin had a shit action. I was like, you've never shot one, have you? Or handled one if you think Schmidt-Rubin's action shit. Schmidt-Rubin's lovely because it's the Swiss rifle. But it's a straight pull bolt at the user's end, but it's not actually a straight pull bolt. It's a rotating bolt, quite similar to the like M1 carbine, for example. But like so at the user's end, it's a straight pull, but it's actually like a rotating internal bolt. So you can literally go like that really quickly with it. Yeah, and that's cool, Jay. But yeah, JA, but yeah, more guns than citizens. That's why the Japanese said they never wanted to invade mainland America, because there'd be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Yeah, you need a different thing for a different thing, don't you? Yeah, and that's why you can never have too many guns, because, you know, this one's for the elephant, this one's for the fascists, this one's for the pygmies. Not pygmies. Oh no, they're going to think I'm very racist. Well, it fits this hat, doesn't it? This one's for the pygmies, Sonny Jim. But yeah, like this one's for a pheasant, this one's for the boar, this one's for the squirrels, this one's for like plinking my range things at the range, you know. So yeah, again, by Badger 919, the issue is that unless you have enough manufacturers or enough competition, the prices are still going to be high. Oh, AR-10s, I fucking love Brown Streak. Again, because 7.62 AR. Yeah, I suppose you're doing a service though, aren't you, if you're dealing with feral hogs? That's the thing. Like, this is the thing that I keep finding funny, right? In the UK and lots of European countries, they go on about rewilding, you know, reintroducing wolves, reintroducing boars, things like that. Surely if they did that, they'd have to let us get guns more easily, because those animals are fucking dangerous. So, you know, if they're going to reintroduce those, can they reintroduce my right to have a gun if I'm walking through the woods in case a bear or a, you know, wolf or a boar comes at me? You broke into the wrong gosh damn recreation. I can't remember how that guy's voice from Tremors goes. I'm trying to remember his name now. I'm going to look it up. It's not Bud, is it? Tremors Gun Man. Burt Gummer. Yeah, that's it. Burt Gummer. So I was almost right with Bud, but yeah, Burt. He was mentioned on the stream the other day, Burt. Ah, interesting. Star Z70B. Let me look up what that is. I know there's a Spanish company called Star did pistols, but is that the same company or a completely different one? Spanish 9mm submachine gun. I've got almost one of those. I can't fucking show it you, annoyingly. I'm sure I've got a video on it. I don't know if it's that exact model, but I do have one of those Star, looks like a Sterling submachine guns with a bottom loading mag. Again, fucking YouTube policies. I know where it is. It's over there, but I can't get it out to show you. But yeah, Star's a good company. They were the one that I think didn't at one point give a shit about copyright, did they? So they could just copy anybody's guns they wanted to. Yeah, Nightshakers, YouTube's unsubbed a load of people. And when I make new videos, I was complaining about this earlier, if I do a community post, as in I go to my channel page and put an image up in the description, that gets more views than my videos and shorts do, or my streams. So YouTube, again, has fucked their algorithm up. But yeah, make sure you're still subscribed and tick the bell or whatever, because like I said, the annoying thing is YouTube, like I said, has unsubbed a load of people and whatever else. Yeah, cheers, thank you, Nightshade. But like I said, it's just really frustrating as a creator, because like I said, I don't know if you haven't seen me in a while, you won't know. So the job I did for about 7 years or whatever it was, 6-7 years recently, I had to quit that because change in management, work conditions got really bad. You know, it was destroying my mental health, so I had to leave that job. Then my granddad passed away quite shortly after that. So, you know, I've had a load of shit to deal with. And, you know, where I would have immediately started looking for a new job, you know, I decided that I'd get a load of family shit sorted before I went into a new job. So I've become a lot more reliant on YouTube for income. And, of course, during that period is when YouTube decides to stop sending my videos to people. So, yeah, next month I'm properly looking for work again because nearly everything's sorted out again. But it's just really frustrating that, you know, when I most need my YouTube income, YouTube's like, oh, make sure your channel isn't seen by anyone. Or I'm glad I'm back, CT Ranger. I'm wondering if more people are seeing me again because I'm doing those fucking community posts. And maybe it's sharing my channel more because it's like you're getting engagement. Because I do see that loads of channels with a lot of subscribers do almost several community posts a day. Sometimes just memes they post. But I'm wondering if that's the thing, that because I'm doing community posts and YouTube sharing those, it's then like, oh yeah, people might want to watch this channel. I did a gas mask video that I'd like it if people watch, because it was one that I did a poll, people requested, and yeah, you know, it annoyed me because of the fact that, you know, people were like, please do this video. The overwhelming amount of people said, do this video. I do the video, and like 200 views in a day. Yeah, I reckon it's because YouTube now wants to be copying Twitter/X or any of the other social media where people just do posts, or Facebook or whatever. Because like I said, this is the problem. They're trying to cast their net too wide. YouTube worked really well when it was just a simple video platform. You know, it worked on search engine optimization. So, you know, again, that did lead to people fucking up, you know, by making a description that was just loads of tags for their video. But at least you search for something, you could find the video. And like I complained, I'll take the Piff helmet off now as much as I enjoy it. I'm glad I got you into that stuff, Nightshade, unless that's a curse and now you're not wanting to be in it. Yeah, CT Ranger. Right, so at least I know, and again, I can see that kind of from my own analytics, but at least I know now that the community posts are what's getting people kind of seeing my channel again. So I will keep doing them. I might do several a day, and I might do, like, you know, poll type ones, or just ones that is like, what is your favorite gas mask? And then choose a load of gas masks from pictures, just in case it, you know, gets more people watching. Yeah, I'm self-employed technically. Yeah, with the UK, apparently, if you're earning like a £5 a year from doing anything and you're not in proper work, you're self-employed. And I guess that's so they can say, oh, technically you don't deserve certain benefits. Because, yeah, I'm not signed on to job seekers or anything. Like I said, I'll have to go on to job seekers if when I start properly looking for work and need money, I can't find a job usually. Then I will probably go on to fucking job seekers so they can help me find a job. Even though they probably won't do to help me find a job, it is extra money coming in. But yeah, like obviously at the moment, I'm not leeching off of anybody. I'm just, you know, trying to use my savings to stay afloat until, you know, like I said, I'm actually in a position again where I can commit to working properly. Because like I said, the problem was when my granddad passed away and all that, and then we had the funeral and we've had loads of stuff to sort out with his estate and all that. Is the problem is you can't easily then, you know, start a job, because you'd have to say to an employee, I'm going to need all this time off, then all this time off, so they're not going to hire you. So yeah, I've just been sorting it out so I don't have to stress about a job on the side. And then now this is mostly all sorted out. Like I said, I've got a holiday coming up soon. Then next month, a friend's coming around for a few days to visit, you know, staying around mine so he can see some of the stuff in around Oxford area. We're going to take him up to Warwick Castle so you can see Warwick Castle. But once all that's done, I've got nothing, you know, like imminently lined up where I'm not like, oh, I can't work this like particular week because of a reason. I don't even know how you apply for universal credit, but yeah. Anyway, like I said, my plan is at the moment just do what I'm doing, survive until after my mate's been over, then properly start looking for work, and then, you know, any benefits I technically might be entitled to them when I'm actively looking for work, I'll look into getting. But at the moment, like I said, I'm just trying to be really careful with my money, and that's why I'm trying to sell stuff. Right. This isn't a USM1, even though it's a rip-off of the USM1. It's a French, I think, is it a French M51 helmet? Let me double check. French M51 helmet. So yeah, the French M51 helmet is a rip-off, even though they claimed it wasn't a rip-off. It's a rip-off. So the model 1951 is designed to have the same general shape as the USM1 helmet in an effort towards standardization with NATO. The two different, the M1 has a longer visor, a more pronounced downward slope on the sides. The M1 also has a nape strap, while the model M51 does not. But essentially, it's the USM1. You know, it's not quite identical, but it's essentially a USM1. Where they ripped it off and then didn't have to pay the license fee. I reckon that's the only reason they didn't do all the features of an M1. So, it is not an M1 America. We do not have to pay you a license fee. It is a totally original French design. The cool thing about this particular one, though, is I've got the like better helmet liner for it, which I really like. So this is kind of like a bit like a tank crewman's hard hat, you know, a bit like the ones the US had in World War II for the tank crewman. It's similar to that, but you put it inside the shell of the helmet to act as a liner, because obviously older versions had just like more like the USM1 style liner. But the cool thing with this helmet is that obviously that acts as the liner, and it's really comfy compared to a lot of liners. Yeah, the 919, I said, that's the thing I'm worried about when I actually properly start looking for work, is just how many places want you to have loads of experiences in fields you wouldn't have had good experience in. You know, like that thing of, oh, it's a basic entry level job, but we want you to have 5 years experience. Like I said, luckily, most of my adult life, I have been in work. So it's not like I'm somebody that doesn't have workplace, you know, stuff. But even then, I've heard that, you know, like loads of jobs now, it's really hard to, you know, because of how many people are competing for interviews. And again, UK unemployment rate keeps going up. Low-income self-employed entitled to benefits. Yeah, again, it's like, again, I would rather for my own mental health be working a couple of days, at least a week, you know. You can get universal credit as a streamer by saying you're in a set period. Interesting. Again, I might have to look into that. But again, you know, I know it sounds weird, but I kind of don't want to be taking money out the benefit system, even if I could, you know, because again, I know people say you're stupid for that because look at how many people come into the UK and absolutely exploit the benefit system. But, you know, I would still rather, I've still got that mentality of I would rather be contributing to the country, not draining it, you know. And again, I'm not blaming people on benefits that genuinely need benefits. But, you know, like I said, ideally, I just want to be in work and self-sufficient again. But, you know, it's just the fucking state of this fucking country, man. I don't know. Again, sometimes that depends on the metallurgy as well, CT Ranger. Because again, I know it said like the sides on this one are a slightly different angle to the M1. But yeah, it's sometimes down to as well like metallurgy. Because again, there are some helmets. Yeah, Jace, as you said, hit the like button. That would help me out. Thank you. There are some helmets that you'd think are good and are actually shit because they're really bad quality metals and whatever. And vice versa. There are helmets that look a bit daft, but the combination of metals and like the shape of the helmet make them really good ballistically, you know, compared to yeah, exactly. It's a rip off of the USM1. Let me show you actually, because I know where it is, the French helmet that replaced this one. I bought it to do ballistic tests on because it was in like B grade condition, but it was actually in really good B grade condition, and I actually quite liked it. So I'm not going to bother selling this particular helmet, by the way. Because this particular helmet, I actually, because like I said, because it's in surprisingly good condition, other than a dent in the top of it. So yeah, there's a dent in the top of this one. Like I said, this is the French helmet, and this one doesn't have its actual chin strap. It fits me quite well there. This is the French one that replaced that other one. But this one didn't last very long in service. Hello to XYABC. I'll go back to the comments in a second. This one apparently a bit like when I was doing the same with the British Mark 7, didn't last long in service because this one came in a weird period where they brought this helmet in, and then within a few years, or like 10 years, you know, because Kevlar helmets is what everybody wanted, France then suddenly went to Kevlar helmets. So this is like a really high quality steel pot helmet, but it was only like in the 1970s or 80s or something it came into service, only to come out of service within like 10 years. You know, probably went to reservists next and then was phased out that way. But, you know, like, you build a really good high quality steel pot which is ballistically really good liner and all that, and then immediately it's like, oh yeah, it's a great helmet, but technology's changed. I don't know what 1984 versus Squid Games. I've never watched Squid Games. It's apparently quite good, isn't it? But I like the book 1984 and some of the adaptions of 1984. Oh, speaking of that, is my Oceana pin still on my desk? Oceana, 'tis for thee. I thought I had that on my desk recently. Has it been knocked fucking off? No, there it is. Strong and peaceful. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Am I British? Yes, obviously. Can you not tell by my accent? British mate, bottled water. Yeah, English. So, wow. again, all right, Khaled even, sorry, every fucking time. Yeah, that I think was like a place that did badges and like Velcro pins. I've got a Velcro like, you know, body armor pin with the Ingsoc thing on as well. It's becoming 1984 without the good bits. So everybody's getting poorer, and we're going to probably be in eternal war eventually. But the government in 1984 let people have porn, unlike the UK government, and they handed people cigarettes and gin as rations. Sort of, right? So 1984, let me explain it. So the law of 1984 is that there's three superpowers. The Earth is ruled by three superpowers, as in, you know, like massive nation states. Oceania, which is the one the story takes place in with Ingsoc, English socialism. Then you have Eurasia, which is like most of the Europe and like slightly east of like, you know, like the Russian bit. Basically, like if the Soviet Union, it took over all of mainland Europe. You've got Eurasia, and then you've got Asia or East Asia, whatever they're called, which is like China, Japan, and all those. And basically, they're always in eternal war, where like nobody is going to win. And it's kind of, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but basically that's on purpose because the superpowers all want to stay in charge. So they kind of agree what land do they fight over. So, you know, like they all have a permanent war economy going on. And like, you know, they have a very set amount of soldiers they all send to die each, you know, like periodic thing. And they fight over like bits of Africa and I think bits of like India, don't they, or something like that, where one side will take it and then one side takes it back. And they're always at, you know, they're all at, like, for example, Oceania is always allies with Eurasia until they're then always allies with East Asia and were never allies with Eurasia. And then they rewrite their own history. Well, porn isn't banned in the UK, Creeper. It's just that the government basically wants to permanently check what you're watching at all times, which has just forced people onto like the dark web and dodgy as shit. So again, it's the problem when you try and regulate all this stuff to a stupid amount. You end up with the situation where basically either the government spies on you and collects all your data, or you go to dodgy people with no quality control standards and get into riskier stuff. It's the same problems you get with prohibition, isn't it? Where like people, you know, end up going into like, you know, buying like bathtub gin because of the fact they need a drink. Right, see if you got to go. Oh, there's a comment how to review. Let me see what it says. Oh, that's one I can actually allow. We can have corn in 1984, but no love smecks. Yeah, exactly. You're not allowed to love people, are you? And you can only breed, like you can only have sex for the purpose of having children. And then those children become young pioneers, which are kind of like Hitler Youth, you know, like the Stalin kind of kids organizations that then rat out their parents. Yeah, but the problem is, Nightshade, as always with the UK, they can take something that sounds like a good idea and basically turn it into, we want to harvest all your data and see what you're looking at all times. Because again, apparently if you're an iPhone user now, you have to register loads of ID to even use your iPhone. Again, this is why I like the fact I'm on Linux and stuff like that, because good luck doing that to me on there. They'll probably just make Linux outright illegal. You're using Linux, that makes you a right-wing thug. We're going to send the stormtroopers round your house. Soldier of Fortune UK, let me have a look. Again, sometimes I have to be careful what sites are names like this, because sometimes, annoyingly, this goes against YouTube's policies. I think as long as they don't sell guns, it's all right. If they sell guns, I'm not allowed to mention what they are. Right, let me see what they've got for stock, and I'll tell you if I've bought from them or not. Because I may have done, I may not have done. There's some UK surplus sites I definitely know that I've bought from. I have a feeling I might have bought my M7 bayonet replica from them, or my M9 bayonet replica. So I'll check my emails in a minute. But yeah, so I have a feeling that this like Repro M7 bayonet was from them, or sorry, M4 bayonet, or it might have been my M7, but I'm sure one of my Repro bayonets came from them, like one of the ones that actually fits properly on rifles. You know, it's made to as like a 1:1 size thing to a real thing. Don't forget to like stream from. Well, we've got 34 people on. That's pretty rare on my streams nowadays. Maybe all the community posts are doing something. Right, so let me just search Soldier of Fortune. Yes, I have bought from Soldier of Fortune. So let me tell you what it was I bought from Soldier of Fortune. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing in. So I bought from them once in April last year, and it was... Oh, no, that was April this year. It was the wooden grips for my, the real Browning grips for my Browning high-power airsoft pistol. Oh, no, I did buy from them last year, sorry. Yeah, on the 20... No, I've bought from them before. Yeah, I've bought from them a couple of times, okay. So I also bought from them M7, M16 bayonet with scabbard. Yep, so I got the M7 bayonet from them. What was the other thing I bought from them? Oh, blanks. I bought blanks from them back when you could buy blanks, you know, blank guns. So yeah, I have bought from them a few times. Yeah, they've been absolutely fine. It's just that, you know, there's some surplus sites I bought from loads of times, but them I've only bought from, you know, now and again when they've had a particular item that I've wanted. So I've probably got the M4 bayonet from another site that sold bayonets. But, you know, this is very similar to the M7 bayonet. Just different handle, different lug size, same blade. Exact same scabbard on both of them as well. The M8 scabbard. Yeah, my FS knife, annoyingly, I've put that down somewhere and can't find it. But FS knife's really nice. Again, the M4 bayonets kind of almost are more like a fighting knife, to be honest. Because these are, you know, knives that are almost like a primary dagger first with bayonet lugs on it. A bit like I was saying with the, a bit like, again, Lee Enfield bayonet, where this is essentially just a short sword with bayonet lugs on it. Because it was designed to be, you know, be able to be used hand to hand, not just as a rifle bayonet. Because some bayonets, basically, you can't use hand to hand because they've got really, really shitty grips on them. Again, that's bayonets I like are the ones that definitely are the ones that, you know, double up as a proper fighting knife. Again, I did buy, like I said, this is just a reproduction, like Windlass Steelcraft, like parrying dagger, fork dagger. But again, this is kind of like a proper fighting knife, isn't it? Again, way bigger than like an FS knife, but a similar kind of blade. Lovely balance on this thing, by the way, as you can see. Has a proper hilt balance on it. Let me go back to the comments properly, sorry, rather than going, you call it a knife. This is a knife. Right. Live streaming, what comments did I miss? Khalid said he hasn't used an iPhone since 2021 as they're too expensive to break easily. Yeah, exactly. That's the main reason I never got into Apple stuff, is just how much it costs. You know, I don't have that sort of money. Even when I was working, again, I could have afforded stuff like that when I was working, but I kind of looked at it and go, why would I buy that when I can get something made by another company with similar specs way cheaper? I normally always buy on price performance metrics with like hardware, not the very best, you know, technically thing on the market. The M9, right, I've heard the M9 bayonet is dog shit, but I've never got a replica one or a real one to test that. But yeah, because the M7 bayonet is like basically a proper daggery kind of bayonet, you know, purely for stabbing people. The M9 is basically, it's a bayonet. It's also wire clippers. I think it also does other multi-tool functions. And I think the problem people had with it in the US, like US soldiers, was it's quite heavy and it doesn't really do any of one of those functions particularly well. So you'd rather have a proper bayonet and then have like a multi-tool on you, for example. You know, I personally rather have a multi-tool because, again, like the AK bayonet's got wire cutters on them. So is the not the Enfield, the SA80 bayonet's got wire cutters on them. And again, but the problem is, yeah, the more functions you start putting on a bayonet, the more it's going to weigh more and, you know, kind of be less good for doing stuff. You can, whereabouts are you, Caleb? Because I bought a Repro one that's made by one of the companies that made the original ones, called I'll find the site. It's they're based in Sheffield. J Adams Limited, is it this one? Hang on. Right, hopefully YouTube doesn't have a fit that I link to these people, but I'm pretty sure I've bought a few of this company's blades and they are genuinely fucking good. Like, they're good knife makers. And they do FS knives, I believe, in both like more modern styles. I have the MOD survival knife as well, and again, I have no fucking clue where I put that. So I've got the MOD survival knife, you know, like that massive chunky Bowie thing. I've got their FS third pattern in black, although they're out of stock at the moment, are they? Or is it that you have to choose a thing to be able to... Oh, I see. It's because the price changes depending on what sheath you choose and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, they do a load of FS designs because, like I said, FS are really nice. Like the brass handle ones and the other variants. I've got their Israeli knife design somewhere, if they still know that Israeli commander knife, which is like a K-bar. I bought them because I couldn't find any particularly good K-bars from, you know, like a load of other manufacturers. Is it in this drawer? And again, even if you don't like Israel as a country, don't bitch about that over a knife. Right, let me find it. I've got a drawer full of knives down here, but I need to find the right one. There's my VZ58 bayonet. I had to reprofile because it had a snapped off end and I got it cheap. But yeah, VZ bayonets are nice. The ones for the not AK, you know, the Czech not AK. Couple of AK bayonets in there. I think it's this one, isn't it? Or is this the shitty Miltech one? Which one's this? No, that's the one because it's got a Star of David on it. Oy vey. But yeah, that's like a K-bar and nice. Is that still quite sharp? Yeah, I might put a bit more of an edge on that while I've got it out. Where did I put my knife sharpener I was fucking about with earlier? It's the problem when I end up... Oh no, that Ingsoc thing I was on about that out of my body armor. It's here, look. I put it on my iron like metal gloves, didn't I? Strong and peaceful. Yeah, where did I put my fucking knife sharpener that I had out earlier? Oceana. Can't see it now. That's typical. I literally had it earlier to sharpen the knife a couple of times and put it back down. I can't even find it right in front of me. I do need to take another hay fever tablet soon. My throat is really getting itchy and dry again. Unless it was up on there somewhere. No, it's not there. Oh, never mind. No, I don't. Again, most of my knives aren't like really good historical ones. So most of the time I just use either a whetstone to sharpen them or a pull-through sharpener, depending on the model of knife. But I don't really do stropping. I know some people really like doing that, but... Yeah, well, same with other countries. It's like that's like the appeal, like with Rhodesia and stuff like that. Khalid, sorry, yeah, that's like the appeal of like the Rhodesian stuff as well. Like Rhodesia doesn't exist anymore, so you know, again, like the surplus kind of has a cool value because of that. I think in general, yeah, countries that like don't exist as they were are kind of like, you know, quite cool. Because again, it's the same reason I think lots of people like the Third Reich stuff, even though it was a horrible, horrible thing, the Third Reich. You know, the Third Reich stuff's kind of cool simply for the fact that, you know, it doesn't exist anymore. It's a dead ideology, you know, and all that stuff they made, you know. Again, Germany exists and like Austria still exists, but the actual, you know, the Third Reich, the National Socialists, they are tot, thankfully. Yeah, that is annoying me now. I can't see that sharpener I literally had on my desk. Little pull-through one. Oh, there it is. The Rambo knives that are generally pretty terrible are the ones with the hollow handles, aren't they? Which have all like the survival gear and handles, because most of those are made to like a really kind of flimsy standard with the yeah. They're made to a really flimsy standard with the what you call it, like the handle, because it's hollow. Yeah, some of the Rhodesian fowls are really interesting because some of them are basically like what you call them, like weird parts kits ones, aren't they? Where they like scrub the what you call it off, like, you know, all the serial numbers removed by South Africa when they sold them to Rhodesia and stuff like that. Pure unfettered dog ass is what I call knives that have those hollow handles, says the 9190. Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, I like both. Again, I think the G3 or the Setme, because G3 is technically the Setme rifle. G3 is just the German production name for it when they bought the license. But yeah, both are lovely rifles. And again, I've heard a load of people say that G3s or Setme's are technically better than FAUs. But again, FAUs still have the historical cool factor. And again, both are very good rifles for their time. I think loads and loads of people would have been mass murdered. And then I think the Nazi party would have probably purity spiraled in on itself, like they were anyway doing, where they would then decide that various types of, ethnic white people weren't white enough, and then they'd kill those off, and they'd probably have massively depopulated the continent. But yeah, because that's the thing, is that it wasn't just the Jews they were going after, right? Nazi Germany. They hated gays, gypsies, Jehovah's Witnesses, weirdly enough. Maybe Hitler got a pamphlet through his door and he didn't like it. And all that sort of stuff. And again, they'd have just got worse over time, because that's what those sort of regimes do. Is that because every time the regime fucks something up, they have to find a scapegoat. They'd have just then found another, as again, they were also killing Slavs, weren't they? Oh, somebody's done a message held for review. Let's have a look what it is. Yeah, that was what I was just saying. Just as I said it, they hated Russian Slavs a lot as well. Yeah, it won't let me show you a message, but yeah, I agree with you, Guna. But yeah, this is the thing with the Nazis. They would have literally kept just purity spiraling into, oh, these are not Germanic enough people. We will get rid of them. My father was a tool maker. I still find it funny. Hitler's original surname was Scheckelgruber. Literally, his surname was Scheckelgruber. Like coin grabber or whatever, money grubber. And yeah, that's why his dad changed, or his granddad changed the family name. But yeah, that was his original family name, was like... I can understand 990 because yeah, it's going to be more expensive ammo, isn't it? Okay, is there any stropping things you'd particularly recommend, Caleb? Like a good company that does stropping kits? Again, can't buy one at the moment just because, like I said, I'm having to be really careful with money. But I'm just wondering if there's a particular brand that does a good starters kit for one. Like one that gives you maybe a few tools with the strop or whatever. And is there any particular brand that you should really avoid because they're bad or whatever? And Work Sharp, Field Sharp. Now let me look up that one. But again, like I said, at the moment, I can't really afford any of that stuff. I think I've got something similar to that, but not made by Work Sharp. Oh, nice. So it has different gauges on it. So you can, I guess you put the... Oh, looks quite interesting, yeah. Yeah, they're only 30-odd quid. Yeah, I might get one of those at one point. Like I said, at the moment, sadly, can't really. Like I said, I need to be super careful with my money because lots of little things add up as well. Okay, I might look into those. So yeah, you can get all right Chinese branded ones. Then you're saying. As you can just people saying, just using a bit of homemade leather strip as well. Like I said, yeah, that's why I ask people who know about stuff, because the problem is when you ask about loads of things online, you can get the people, can't you, that just start talking complete bullshit of, oh, you need to buy this really fancy branded thing or it's not worth doing, or they'll do the opposite where they'll say, what's it trying to think of a good term for it, where it oh no, anything will do fine, whatever. Because that's what I hate when you see people asking for advice on certain things, is where they'll say my budget is whatever, and then somebody will go, oh, unless you're buying, oh, your budget's $200, unless you're buying a $5,000 thing, get fucked. There's no point. That's what I hate when you sometimes ask on certain forums about things, because people they won't actually listen to what the individual person's budget is and what they kind of can. So I can understand where there might be certain products you really can't get in a certain budget range. So, it's worth saying, look, the stuff you'll get at that price is crap. Save up a bit more and get something you won't regret. You won't have to buy twice. But sometimes people have a perfectly reasonable budget for what they're asking for. And people keep going, oh, no, you need to buy the really expensive stuff, whatever. Let me look up Secure Selector. I don't know anything about it, T1. And he said, cool shirt, thank you. Again, I'm missing some comments because we've actually got a decent amount of people on today, which is really nice. Don't forget to like the stream if you've not liked it yet. And don't forget to check if you're subscribed or not, because like I said, YouTube's unsubscribed a load of people from me recently, even though they chose not to unsubscribe, like it's done to me with other channels I follow. I will just randomly unsubscribe you. So, Selector, is that dpisecure.com masks? Yeah, it must be. Compact universal size mask compliant with VN 136 and EU regulations 26/45. Class 2 without speech diaphragm. Use of dust, gas, and combined filters equipped with ready collection. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Again, if you can buy them brand new for that sort of price. That reminds me a bit of the Spaziani I really like. Let me show you that. I've shown that mask before, but again, it's one of my favourite of the like panoramic masks you used to be able to get for like sensible prices. Got a bit dusty, I have to give it a clean at some point. But yeah, so the Italian Spaziani mask is nice. Let me just put a proper filter on it as well. Actually, I'll just connect my PAPR to it. Why don't I do that? Yeah, let's connect the PAPR system to it. So it's got the thing again. I always like the masks that have a chin, like an neck strap. I don't know why more masks don't do that, because it's just handy to be able to do that with a mask when it's not on your face. So I think with this one, you don't really get much of a voice diaphragm, so it's a similar problem that, you know, people can't potentially hear you all that well. There we go. Disconnect the shear from my PAPR system. Don't know how easy it would be to connect this phone without taking the mask off. Could have done it before I put the mask on, couldn't I? Oh, it's surprisingly easy to connect this one up, actually. Right, turn the PAPR on. There we go. Nice fresh air supply. So yeah, like I said, the Spaziani is one of my favourite, the panoramic masks. It's fairly comfortable, you know, it's still not super comfortable. It's got a really good panoramic visor on this one in terms of how much you can see. You know, it's only about there that I lose vision. So I'd say you still keep about 80 to 90% of your vision with this mask. There's a bit with, I wish they'd have done a see-through nose cut, because you lose a bit of vision nose cut cutting off your view. But in general, you can see below you fine, and you can see above you absolutely fine, and just with a bit of cut off where that bit of plastic is there. So so the Selector is your everyday carry gas mask, good to know. If you're on about this particular mask, this is a civilian industrial mask, hence why it's also blue. Normally military masks are always like green or black or whatever. But no, Spaziani, I think Spaziani make Italian military masks, but this is just like an industrial sort of one. Again, I think because the mask's quite a comfortable silicone, it probably doesn't stand up to certain chemical agents as long as butyl rubber masks. But, you know, like I said, it's not a bad mask. But again, what these cost probably in comparison to getting a new Chinese MF14, I'd rather go with the MF14 in all honesty. But this is still one of my favourite industrial masks I've ever bought in terms of just overall quality control. The Chinese panoramic mask has a couple of good models as well, saying that. Like one of the ones I like is, I've got that one here I was showing before, the orange one, but I think behind me I've got, not that. That's the China from J08, Chinese S10. That wasn't what I was looking for. And so, it's this one, isn't it? I quite like these sort of design Chinese ones. So now they do these where you can either put 3M filters on with blanking plugs, or you've got a blanking plug, but I've not installed for the 40mm because I always run it 40mm. But these are quite comfy as well, not too bad. Like for a Chinese mask, these are genuinely quite nice. Again, like I said, first thing, I don't like with Chinese stuff, like that guy going, "Oh, don't buy anything Chinese, you're stupid if you buy Chinese." Again, there are some really shit Chinese masks, but there's a lot of good ones now. This one actually might be Ghost threaded rather than NATO threaded, I'm not sure. Let's see if it, even if it is Ghost threaded, it will work fine with my hose, because of the fact the hose is doesn't need to be fully tightened up. Let me just see if I can get that on as good as possible. Sometimes it's just the start bit, like cross threads when you're trying to start it, and then once you get out of the way, it's all right. But yeah, that doesn't like that thread on this hose. So I just want to see if I can get it working with the hose. But yeah, that isn't even like a Ghost problem with that. Because like Ghost masks, the hose normally goes in better than that. Let me just try it without the mask on. T1 says you can try and collect your masters, 2 selectors, 2 GP5 with bag, and 1 PMG2. PMG2 I like the most out of the GP5's type mask. I like the Shum 41, not Shum, sorry. My favourite out of all the sort of Soviet style masks is the Shums, SHMS, out of their conventional masks. But yeah, GP5M/PMG2 is a pretty good mask, what they are. Right, yeah, that is, I would not trust that at all with smelling salts. I'm just going to test this. I reckon I'll smell the thing. But with a PAPR on it, we'll be fine, because it'll be positive pressure. But yeah, annoyingly, I reckon this is one of the Ghost threaded ones. Not, like the other 14 being NATO threaded. Okay, so this is where I reckon that there'll be a leak in the mask. Oh yeah. So this is definitely not a NATO threaded mask, this particular one. If I flick the PAPR on over, I'm completely protected because it's become positive pressure. So yeah, that is the thing I like about having a PAPR setup done easily, is that having cold, is it hot where you are, John? But yeah, like I said, so yeah, annoyingly, this one is Ghost threaded. I don't know if there's more modern versions of this mask that aren't Ghost threaded. But like I said, I actually really like the face piece of this mask. It's just a fucking shame that, like I said, that's the thing I do like now, that the Chinese are doing more masks NATO threaded, not Ghost. Because obviously in nearly every Western country, we have 40mm DIN/NATO/Stalag filters. So, yeah. Right. The other mask I was on about, the Chinese one, again, the only problem I've had with this one, this is a really good mask, is that I think it was this bit could come apart quite easily if you put too much force on it. So, you almost wanted like rubber glue to do it. Again, is this one Ghost or NATO, actually saying that? Again, if they're Ghost masks and you have plenty of Ghost filters, that's never a problem. But like I said, this one actually is kind of screwing in, so I'm not sure. But the problem is, like I said, with a lot of Ghost masks, is that, that, in most Western countries, you can't get Ghost filters easily. Fully undo this strap, might help before trying to put it on. Okay, now let's whack that on. Actually, first let's see if this is airtight or not with this hose to figure out if it's NATO or Ghost threaded. Yeah, I'm getting a whiff of hydroxide, not hydroxide there, ammonia. So this one is Ghost threaded. But flick the PAPR on. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, well, I'd only survive a chemical attack.
If I knew it was coming in advance, that's the problem. Because if you're caught completely unaware, you're still dead, like all these things. I'll do a goal, not that I expect anybody to necessarily contribute to it, you know, because like I said, I do this for fun anyway. It's just nice when I get donations. But I thought I might as well do hang on one second. Like I said, like it's again one of those things I wonder if YouTube promotes your stream more if you actually do a goal and whatever. So Caleb says, I have the NATO MP5 NBC Desert Master, me and my wife have the dual ventilation. What do you mean, like the Polish ones or the like French ARFAs? Because if they're the French ARFAs, I would definitely not recommend them because of what happens to them. I think I have my French ARFA behind me somewhere to show you what happens to one. There is the bastard. There he is. So yeah, I hope you don't mean one of these masks. Oh dear. They're not the Polish ones. If they're in yellow, as far as I'm aware, you've got a French ARFA, and they fall apart because of the shitty rubbers and plastics the French use. The Polish ones are genuinely all right, but only the Polish ones. The problem is lots of sellers sell the French ones as the Polish ones. The Polish ones are a licensed version, but the Poles made them out of better quality rubbers. Yeah, so yeah, what you want to do is get different masks for you and your wife, I'm afraid. Because yeah, do not trust your life on those. They're made by frogs who are like, ho ho ho, we're going to make this mask out of a shit cheap rubber, ha ha ha, sacre bleu. And yet they're fucking wank. The mask is a nice design in itself, and saying that's why I like the Polish MP5. Because yeah, but sadly, yes, the frogs being the frogs, they had to fuck it up. So you know, why would we mix this mask? It's a good material. Sacre bleu, you know, it's that sort of thing. Meanwhile, the older French masks. All right, Kevin, we were just laughing at the French with the because Caleb thought he had some MP5s, but sadly he has some French ARFAs. So I was just warning him not to use those, and I showed him what happens to an ARFA. Yeah, I started streaming a couple of hours ago, but this has been a good one with a load of people on, and there's been a few people that have come on saying, oh, this is the first stream I've seen from you in ages. I've just realised I've been unsubscribed, so I've reminded people to make sure they're still subscribed. Which one's the WAMAC or whatever? So that's Cyrillic letters, isn't it? Let me copy and paste the WMC into Google, because I if I do know the mask, I've forgotten what it is. Oh, is that the shum? Sorry, the shums. 45 euros. Yes, get a shums for 45 euros because they're hard to get now. Where did I put my shums? I had it the other day. It is in the file somewhere. I cannot find it. Sacre bleu. My mask. Oh, is it there? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. This bad boy. Yeah, get one. They're great. They're getting quite hard to get now, sadly. Yeah, great mask. Pick up that can. They'll put it in the trash. Yeah, get a shunners. You won't regret it. Again, back in the day, you might have been able to get these masks at some point for way less than $40 or euros or whatever. But now they're quite hard to get. So yeah, I'd say go for it for that price. Like, this is my favorite Soviet regular gas mask. And like I said, the Soviets also have the IP4M rebreather, which is really cool. But sadly, that was only ever done as a rebreather. It's although I've got one. You can't just put normal filters on it, even though it would be technically the best Soviet gas mask if it took filters. I'm glad your soup's good. All right, so SCHMS is the East German designation for it. SHMS is the Soviet designation. Again, a bit like the Shum 41 versus the Shum 41, whatever. Like you have a pair of shoes. But yes, what was I on about in regards to other masks? I can't remember what it was. I was going to see, wasn't I, with those Chinesian ones, if they actually work all right with a filter like this, the Soviet filter. Right, so let's get this one again, because this was the one that had the worst seal. See, I reckon these are designed for Soviet masks filters. These, I reckon, are 40mm cost.
Now, pop my ear then. Now. I think there might be a bit of a breach by my chin, but I'm not sure. So I can't really do the straps on tightening. We'll find out. No, there just must have been a bit of dead air in the mask that was leaking there. So yeah, these masks do work fine
with commie filters. The problem is that, yeah, as much as I like this design, sadly they are GOST, unless they've done an updated model like with the MF14s. But again, the DDR didn't make them. If they issued them, they'd have called it the SCHMS. But yeah, the DDR didn't make any of their own gas masks other than like industrial masks. They just imported them from other Warsaw Pact countries, and then, like I said, put them in their own bags and everything. But yeah, East Germany didn't have the manufacturing capabilities for masks, interestingly. Have you got any finished masks? It'd be fun to see them, because I've got a couple. I can't really get them out for a video, but yes, I do have a couple. So on the wall up there, I'm going to try and do it so it doesn't show a gun as and when I do it. But then I think everyone doesn't show the gun behind me in a minute. So see up there, there's a Finnish M61, the 3rd gen one with the plastic voice diaphragm bit, just hanging on the wall. There's one of those there. I've got some more Finnish masks I've done videos with. I've got for sale at the moment on my eBay a Finnish Pro mask, the like semi-civil defense variant, and it's like grey plastic tin. I've got somewhere as well the proper military M98 with a drinking tube. I don't know where it is. Like loads of my masks, I've just got so fucking many. It's probably been put in a storage container at the bottom of the thing. But yeah, I've got videos on several variants of the M61 and the M98, and a weird Finnish mask that has a British World War II filter on it for some reason. One of my M61s is Nokia, a couple of them aren't. Nokia did a load of M61s, but they weren't the only manufacturer that did them. So yeah, if you luck out, you'll get one with the Nokia stamp on it, because then you're like, cool, it's the company that makes the phones. But yeah, there were other Finnish rubber companies that made them as well. And because they were like a government contract, you know, it could have been any of the factories that had the rights to make them. I've done videos about that before, Christ, man. The problem is improvised masks are generally always shit and don't work because of the fact, good luck making a proper face seal with an improvised mask. I have done old videos on that, though, so watch them. But like I said, it's kind of one of those pointless things because, yeah, good luck. Like I said, if I had a load of spare cash, which I don't at the moment, and look, I put a thing up so people can donate, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I wonder how much they are. I'm not going to buy one, like I said, at the moment. But again, if they're not too much, what I could get is, let me look up scuba masks, because there are potentially some scuba masks you could buy and then adapt to make them. Yeah, let me search scuba masks. So yeah, the ones I'm sort of thinking of is those snorkel mask, anti-fog, full face swimming ones, and then maybe adapting it so where the hose, like the weird thing is on it normally, it would take a you know, filter up there. I don't know if you know the sort of mask I'm on about. I'm going to see if I can link to a picture of one, but so not very much. But again, like I said, at the moment I'm having to be super, super careful with my money. So I have to literally say, even if stuff's cheap to people at the moment, and I'm not buying it until, you know, I've got more cash coming in, because the problem is lots of little transactions start fucking adding up. That's the issue. But you know, like one of those, in theory, I reckon you could maybe adapt one of those to take a 40mm filter, like not to be a quick change filter thing, but you know, like potentially rubber glue on a single filter. So if you had an improvised mask, you could use that, put a real filter on it and have that as a mask. But like I said, the problem is you're never going to get a good face seal with something you build yourself. You know, it's better than nothing, but most of the ones, again, in Soviet manuals, they tell you to do a thing called the filters suck. I mean, see you around, fanboys. Not the ones that are necessarily rebreather ones, CBRM fanboy, but the ones that are like the snorkel masks, where they have like a big thing that goes above the water. I was on about IP4M rebreathers earlier, but yeah, the Soviets recommended you do something called a filter suck. This is a real thing. So if your mask is completely broken, you do that. They do promote the phone streams more, I find, yeah. I mean, webcam streams always get more views than game streams, regardless. But yeah, I find that doing a like one just via my phone tends to do more better than even the proper widescreen webcam, even though it's a better microphone and better picture quality. I think they do promote the vertical streams more. And again, I know I can technically do the vertical and horizontal streams. It's a pain to set those up. And it actually just does 2 separate videos rather than 1 video. So again, it's kind of not really worth it. Favorite mask out of all the ones? Well, I really like the C50 I've got. Again, the CT12 is kind of still my favorite. I really, really like it mask. But the C50 I've got is my most practical go-to mask, or I've got a spectacle kit. Not a real one for it, but I adapted some old glasses to fit into it. So, you know, I can see properly out of it. You know, I've got spare filters for it. It's a lightweight mask. It's very comfortable. It works with most military helmets. Right, and Contium? Yeah. So anyway, let's just test the filter suck does work to some degree. Again, it's not a very good idea, but if I do the filter suck again, maybe it is training the Mobics to do good job sucking off commanding officer to kiss the rosary beads, comrade. Yeah. Yeah. But works to a degree. Again, it'd be useless against certain kinds of chemical weapons, but I think the point is that if your mask is totally fucked, you're more like survival just sucking through a filter than not that I know of, Price Man. Again, most stuff like that isn't made public until a company actually sells the design, because they don't want to say, hey, we're working on a thing we haven't fully patented in yet, so other companies can get in on it. But yeah, so like I said, the annoying thing though is still community posts get more views than all my other stuff. So I just need to know now to do several community posts a day, because of the fact that, like I said, YouTube promotes that more than my real content. But again, if I make community posts, maybe some of those people will go to my normal content, and then it works out as more views again. Because yeah, since I started doing community posts every day, my views have gone up to 10,000 views a day, down from like where they were down to less than 4,000 a day. So it's definitely helping, but like I said, it's still annoying that my actual videos are still getting less posts. Because if I do the real-time analytics over the last 60 minutes, the live stream that I'm currently doing is the most views in the last 60 minutes, which is good. The next most viewed one is the one I said about the idiot going, Chinese gas mask crap, I don't buy anything Chinese, you're an idiot if you buy Chinese. Yeah, said the man posting on a Chinese phone or whatever. And another community post, then another community post, then another community post, and another community post, a couple of videos, community post, another video, community post. Yeah. Again, typically now my community posts get way, way more views than my actual videos and content that take more effort. Thanks, YouTube, for optimizing your platform for the lowest effort content. But yeah, so, you know, there is that. Get my live stream tab back up. Yeah, I'll have a look at the news today. I've not really looked at the news today, so let's do that. I might do another live stream tonight, but I might not do a Starmer one tonight. I might just do another camera stream because they're more popular, you know, so I can do one for people in the US and whatever at the ideal time, like UK evening, US sort of early afternoon time. You got a Trump phone? Is the Trump phone made in China? Is a Trump phone a real thing? I know a Trump coin was a thing he did. Oh my God, it is a real thing. Trump phone, is it made in China? Because it says it's American made, but I want to check. The Trump Mobile T1 smartphone is at minimum built using foreign components and heavily resembles or originates from Chinese manufacturers. Every fucking fell for it again award. So yeah, there's probably some poor minimum wage bastard in America who assembles a couple of the components so they can say made in America. But yeah, foul for it again award. I'm posting from my Trump phone like a real American. Because isn't most of the MAGA stuff printed in China as well? I was replying to a comment. Somebody says, how can you get negative 57 subs? Because it's down on the month before. Or like, you know, yeah, down on the month before. Not that my channel is -0 subs, but somebody says I'm still subscribed. Give him a heart then. Give him the hearty welcome then. Hurrah, hurrah. But anyway, where is the tab I was on that one? Future's bright, the future's orange. That's a bit of nostalgia right there. You can phone up my friend Epstein on it, who I knew nothing about. Well, with the M40, you can put outserts on it. So the M40 itself doesn't have dark lenses. What you do is you get the M40 and then you put the proper outsert on it. I was saying about the M40. Where was my M40? I took the second skin off of the other day. That was around here somewhere. I can see the Canadian mask. So yeah, there's the Canadian C4. Where's my M40 gun? I thought it was right next to the C4. None of those masks. Unless I popped it somewhere else. There it is. I think I'm going to horrify people if I reveal what I was doing just then. I'll add this back to the pile so you can see. Hang on. So you know the pile behind me is bad? Oh my god, here we go. So, fucking the mask's coming off the floor like that. Oh dear, oh dear. Like I said, this is why I'm trying to sell stuff. Look at this fucking floor. Oh, this is why it's awkward for me to get back to the chair when I'm... Because they just keep falling over. Again, I wish I could store them all properly on like neat shelving. Yeah, this is why I joke. People could literally get crushed to death by surplus in this house. This room is the worst one because it's the one I stream from. And people go, get this mask out. eBay, I've already got a link right. So I've linked people so many times to the eBay. Let me link you again. But again, I have got a community post about it. I've said loads of times. Again, if you're not in the UK, personally, I wouldn't bother buying. No offense. It's just the fact that there's so many shipping regulations and taxes and that I'm only selling to people in the UK because of the ball ache of trying to do, you know, worry about, can I legally send this to your country? And if it has to go through intermediary countries first, if their customs will throw a shit bit. There's eBay. The helmet that's listed for sale you can find on my community page, but for whatever reason, it doesn't show up on the eBay page for the Mark 7 helmet. So yeah, right. PMK2. I didn't show a PMK2 then. I've got a like Briz modernized PMK. Were you looking at this thing? That's not a PMK2. This one is the whatever the NATO threaded PMK export version is. It's way better than the regular PMK, but it's still essentially a shitty PMK. But yeah, my ass is heavy. Oh, look at the how the elastics. Again, I do need to buy new straps for this mask. The straps are really on their way out.
I can't remember if it's the PMK2 or 3 that has the really stupid filter connection. I can't remember which one it is. But one of them, yeah, isn't even proper GOS filters. It's like, oh, let's make proprietary filters for just one mask. Why would that be a bad idea? There we go. My ass is heavy. Yeah, works fine. The M40. Yeah, they did issue them with like some sort of adapter you could fit, but don't you have to get the filter thing, put the GOS adapter into it to then take a GOS filter, which has more bulk and, you know, like vulnerability to the mask?
Because yeah, that's the problem. Obviously, is that with any mask where to put a normal filter on it, you have to have an intermediary bit. Then that's another thing that you risk breaking, and then like gas could get through it or whatever, and more bulk and weight to the side of the mask. Big Boy Charles is asking something that's barely in English, so you have to rephrase that to make it understandable. I'll Google what you're on about, but if it doesn't come up with anything in Google. No, your thing's just coming up about body fat. You're going to have to rephrase your thing to be a sensible sounding thing. Yeah, and everybody said bayonet filters suck ass. My PC specs, I'm on Linux. I think there's a thing on Linux that gets my specs up the same way I could used to do it on Windows. Give me a second. I have to remember how to do it. But it's a 3090 NVIDIA 3090 GPU. Is it system information maybe? Again, I can never always remember the thing I've got. Yeah, here we go. So that's what you want to see. So yeah, AMD Ryzen 9 3900X 12-core processor is the thing. Because this PC didn't come with a 3090 when I first got it, that was my upgraded thing. 32 gig of RAM, although it's like DDR4 and they're on DDR6 RAM, aren't they now? And like I said, I'm on like Linux Mint because you know, I got fed up with Windows. Was going to do a dual boot system so I could still do a couple of things that are easier to do on Windows. And then annoyingly, Windows decided to corrupt, even though it was on a separate like partition, and it shouldn't have been an issue. So I ended up just deleting all the Windows, keeping my files, and now happily on Linux. Again, there's a couple of things Linux can't do as well as Windows, but most things it does better than Windows, especially with how trash Windows is getting. Because again, that's the thing with the in-shitification stuff, is that for people to carry on using Microsoft products, all they would have to do, literally all they would have to do, is just not make... I could, but again, I'm not going back to Windows now because there's no point reinstalling it. That's the thing. It's I was only going to do it as a dual boot while I learned Linux. And then because Windows fucked up, I've just got fed up with it. And again, there's so many issues I don't have now. And then bear in mind, I was on Windows 10, not 11, and Windows 11 is far worse. But yeah, it's because of the n-shitification. All Microsoft had to do to keep people loyal to Windows was make something not shit and not spyware. But no, they couldn't manage that, could they? Because, we have to keep chasing money and hiring incompetent programmers. So, yeah. So Linux, I like it. Linux, whichever one it is. Like I said, there's some things it doesn't do as well as Windows, but I'd say 9 out of 10 things it's the same or better than Windows. And like I said, Linux, I am going to do a video showing like, how easy Linux is to use, especially with something like Mint, which, because again, Mint is designed to emulate Windows. So just to show you guys, I did show this the other day, but again, I know this is not an ideal way of doing it. Like, see, the desktop environment is designed to look a lot like Windows, how everything works. So, you've got your calendar at the bottom right, you get your taskbar the same way. The same done. You get a start menu equivalent, essentially. Desktop set up like that. Like I said, Steam runs absolutely fine on Linux because Valve is going to Linux anyway for Steam machines. Steam, what's the other thing? Steam machine and Steam Deck. So yeah, Steam, like I said, Steam works absolutely fine. All the games installed there play fine. Some of them you can't use all the settings you've used on the PC builds, as in like Windows builds. It's like the DirectX 12 features, for example, you can't do. I don't know where Linux is from because it's like an open source thing and there's so many varieties of Linux. This is like Linux/Ubuntu, whatever it's called. Linux OS. Let's have a look. Let's look at the history. Linux is a family of free and open source Unix-like operating systems based on the Linux kernel, which was first released on the 17th of September 1991 by Linus Torvalds. Is a Finnish and American software engineer. Yeah, there you go. So yes, it is from Finland partially, so that's why it's good. Got to take you behind the sauna and shoot you in the head. So yes, email hires operating system of choice. Probably didn't live around the time Linux was around. But like I said, yeah, Linux is great. Like I said, all of the bollocks you have to put up with Windows, you don't have to, put up with anymore. It's free operating system, like it's all open source, so you can see the code behind it, and though there's not spyware in it, they're actually very good at patching security flaws if they get found in it, unlike Microsoft. Like when there was the big Linux security thing revealed recently, I think within 2 days of it being found there was a security flaw, all the fixes have been rolled out. And like Microsoft, where there's apparently stuff that's months old exploits that are commonly known, and Microsoft's like, yeah, we're not fixing it, or not on the top of our priorities are, that sort of thing. So you have to put up with Microsoft just, never fixing it or taking ages, but at the point all your details have already been stolen. I don't know, but France, as much as we go, haha, these disgusting French folks, they are going to Linux, so I cannot blame them for that. Sometimes they do things right. They are getting rid of Microsoft in France and going purely to Linux and Open Office. So yeah, the French are actually doing something right for once. Because again, France is weird. And again, it's a frenemy sort of thing with England and France. I don't genuinely hate the French. I am sad to see what's happened to France. Same that happened to the UK. But yeah, the French sometimes do stuff really, really well, and the rest of the time they do really, really dumb choices. The fact they've gone really heavy on nuclear power is a very, very smart move. Classic Office experience on Artemis 2. Toilet broken, Microsoft Excel broken twice. Yeah, although, again, through a lot of history, France is a traditional enemy of the UK and we are allies with Germany. It was just with the World Wars that kind of switched place. Because, actually England's weird because we're a mix of the original, Celtic type people that were in the UK to start with, like the British Isles. Then, of course, we became Anglo-Saxon. Obviously, the Vikings came over, did a bit of surprise sexing. So we got a bit of Viking DNA. Then the Krauts came over, the Saxons, so we became Anglo-Saxons like the Jutes and whoever else. And then the Normans came over and did a bit of the same stuff. So yeah, we're a bastard mix of basically lots of bits of Europe over here. So yeah, whatever. Listen, I generally like Europeans, like most of the countries, but again, some of the cultures I like more than others. Again, Central and Eastern Europeans I tend to like more than the French and Spaniards, for example. Again, not that I have anything against the Spaniards, whatever, but generally Poles and Czechs I like more than, say, French, Germans, Spaniards. But anyway, what was, before I end the stream, what else should we go on about? Because I've been on nearly 2.5 hours. Thank you for all the likes as well. I haven't had any donations this one. It's going to run out in 30 seconds, the donation timer. Again, like I said, I know everybody else is hard up for money like me, so I don't really expect anyone to donate. And when I do get a donation, it's always nice. But like I said, the main thing is just getting people watching my content again. Because as long as people are watching it, I do get ad revenue that way. But like I said, it's just fucking pissing me off now that, what you call it, the YouTube stuff doesn't share my videos very much for subscribers. Check out a Swede. Is this a video? Swede explaining Finnish people drinking. Let me search it on YouTube. How Finns drink according to Swedes. Oh, it's a short, right? I'm gonna listen to this now. See if I find it funny. Oh, great. So it's got somebody at the beginning on this particular video just essentially stealing the video because he's going like, this is how Finns drink according to Sweden. So you can essentially steal views from your original video. Let's watch the original video. Oh, he's doing the subtitles. Okay. Oh, I don't. What is it? Why is YouTube playing two videos at once? What? What's it? Fuck's YouTube? Sorry, I'm just getting pissed off here. YouTube is trying to play a regular video over the top of this on the same window. I've never seen them do this before. Why would at the same time as I'm watching a short want to watch a regular video? Why are they just ruining their interface like this? And again, when I try and click the thing to close that, it just does next video. There's no way of closing it. Oh, there's a little cross in the corner. Okay, that was hidden. So, the Finnish way of drinking is very magnificent. It consists of 5 different stages. It starts with silence, then comes fool's happiness, melancholy, anger, and it ends in a coma. So it goes like this, and then he's doing like hard. Percolator. It sounds more like he's doing an Adolf impression then. Yeah, that's not necessarily the Finnish though, drinking like that, is it? It's anybody who drinks too much that goes through those sort of stages. I sound Welsh. I don't sound Welsh at all. Welsh people talk like this, boy. Or well, it depends on whereabouts they are from Wales, but no, Welsh people don't sound like this. You don't know the accents well enough in the UK if you think Welsh people sound like this. Most Welsh people sound like that, boy. Or well, it depends where they're from for Wales, but no, they don't sound like that. Unless you meant when I was doing the Swedish. But no, the Swedish talk like this. That doesn't sound Welsh. Sounds like Swedish. I can kind of see where you're getting that though from. Oh, okay. Yeah, again, it's probably a joke lost in translation, and I guess a bit with me, T1. Yeah, my hay fever's bad today, and again, like I said, I think I did take an antihistamine when I got up. It's just the pollen levels have been so high at the moment, even sitting in a room with an air filter running. It's fucking shit at the moment. Anyway, I'll probably go off now because I've been on 2.5 hours. And again, I'll probably stream again tonight because at the moment that seems to be working quite well, doing a morning, like early afternoon stream and the late afternoon evening stream. So I might say I'll start streaming tonight about 8 p.m. UK time. So 8 p.m. UK time, if I look at my world clock thing. So it's 8 minutes past 1 p.m. at the moment in the UK. And in New York, it's essentially 8 a.m., 5 a.m. in Los Angeles. So if I was to stream at 8 p.m., that's in 7 hours time. So I'll tell you what, let's do it. 8 p.m. UK time to EST. That is 3 p.m. EST, so it'd be about 1 p.m. in the West Coast. So yeah, so 3 p.m. East Coast, 8 p.m. UK time. Most other people, I imagine, will be asleep by then if they're in Australia or just getting up in Asia. Oh yeah, so it wouldn't be too late in Finland, but yeah. See ya, T8, T1, and everyone else. But thanks for coming on. See ya. Make sure you still subscribe to me, because again, that's a problem. Like I said, that people have obviously been unsubbed. Don't forget, like, you can just bookmark my channel if you want to make sure that you're not missing videos, because that way you're going past any YouTube's algorithms and you're just checking yourself. And like I said, I don't really like doing the community posts for a load of things, but I'm just going to have to keep doing it because YouTube seems to just promote channels now that do shitloads of community posts, even if they don't post that many videos. But like I said, at the moment, while I've not got much on, I will do multiple streams per day. Like I said, normally one long one in the morning, one longish one in the evening. So, you know, people in various time zones can at least catch me while I'm on. And I did do a gas mask video. So if you've not seen today's gas mask video, go and check it out. Because again, and maybe because it's in the first 24 hours, if you're on mobile or whatever it is, you can hype the video. Because YouTube then seems to promote videos if they're hyped. There's like a weird hype button thing, but I think it only shows up if you're on YouTube mobile. So yeah, again, it's another stupid system they've added to videos that didn't exist before, and now it's another thing that it has to be done in the metric. So if people don't hype your video, it doesn't get shared or some bollocks like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be off for now. See you all later on this evening, hopefully. I'm going to go get some food now and everything. So, you know, I'm not hungry later. See you, Rajiv. See everybody else. And yeah, catch you all hopefully around, like I said, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. East Coast time, 1 p.m. West Coast time, whatever it is, or 12 o'clock West Coast time, and like 10 p.m. Finland, whatever it is, very early hours of the morning in Australia, places like that. Right, bye. Have a good one. Yeah.